This is Jordynne Grace, and you're listening to the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
BWB, this is One Nation Radio. You better get it right. Rich Latta, James Boyd came to give them life. The Blackest Wrestling Podcast has come to kick all ass and drop it 6 feet if they kicking trash. Word, let me welcome y'all to something different. And if you dig it, man, you should let some friends listen. We be getting it in, this on the regular, dude. Ravish and flow, but this shit rude. See, James don't rap, so I had to break it down. The whole network, man, we coming for the crown. Raps in the columns, I keep them both covered. Making the beats too, so the listeners can bump it. Hit us with the rating, yeah, I'm saying it's a 5. Before you hit it, talk, bob your head side to side. It's One Nation Radio, and this is the beginning. It's Rich, and I'm here with James. It's time to listen to One Nation.
We got to unleash the power of the pyramid.
This is Mike Sempervive from WrestlingObserver.com. Check me out on Wrestling Observer Live every day. And also check out your boys, Rich and James, on One Nation Radio.
This is Kenny Omega. We're listening to One Nation Radio. Check it out, guys. These guys know what's up. Big Kenny Omega fans, that's all that counts to me. Goodbye and good night. Bang.
Hey, folks. Welcome to One Nation Radio. There's a lot of stuff between last week's AEW, Stardom pay-per-view, Tokiyoshi Pro pay-per-view that involved AEW wrestlers. There's a couple other things, small things, and obviously between us, we can, fill out 2-3 hours like it's no one's business. But Rich, where would you like to start? I have a pretty good question, a pretty good idea where you want to start, but where do you want to start?
Back to the grill again for Vince McMahon once again. Yeah. I can't believe this. Well,
what's the new part of this story?
Okay,
not to say there's not. I don't mean it as like saying like how people like to downplay things by saying stuff already happened before, so you should get over it. I mean, like, what is the new details? I did not read this one.
The new part is the outsized money that has come into effect here. Like, we're talking $7-8 million per an instance. There's a former wrestler that was involved in this.
Wow.
With Vince. I believe I have the excerpt from the story here, and it was just like, I can't believe that. Well, I don't want to say I can't believe that it's happened like that, but this is actually something that you didn't expect anyone else to go on record or to get all this. So excuse me for 1 minute as I search for this, but basically the gist of it is, Vince came out here, and there are 3 additional women, I believe, that has come out and basically have their own stories against Vince, their NDAs. They are going back to the middle of last decade. I believe John Laurinaitis was also implicated again. Vince paid, I think it was $7.5 million for oral sex from this woman, whoever it was. The way they narrowed it down and describe it in the story, you can come with your own conclusions on who that might be. I don't think you have to look very far. And I've seen people like putting out different interviews with people who departed the company around that time that makes you just put 2 and 2 together and be like, it is not hard to find, but I'm not going to, openly speculate on the names here.
Yeah. But, I mean, we're not in the business of like quote unquote outing victims.
Yeah. And you just when like Vince kind of like, it seemed like the first story was kind of going away, and I think a lot of people wrote that up as a paralegal and just one random instance or whatever. A pattern has now developed in this thing. There is somebody that is giving the Wall Street Journal these stories. I do not believe this is the last one. I believe this is the latest one, and I feel like this is a kind of a pressure. Whoever's like doing this has this shit on Vince and wants Vince out of there. And I feel like they are like, all right, man, I'm going to drop X amount off until like it just looks so bad for you to continue. Like, quit now or more is coming. And I feel like there's a leak on the board.
Okay, so one thing that I've noticed now that this is the second time there's been a Wall Street Journal report on this sort of thing with Vince McMahon and his sexual misconduct in the workplace.
I found the excerpt, by the way, too.
Yeah, go ahead then. Go ahead. Before I get
okay.
Go ahead.
So the previously unreported settlements include a $7.5 million pact with a former wrestler who alleged that Vince McMahon coerced her into giving him oral sex and then demoted her and ultimately declined to renew her contract in 2005 after she resisted further sexual encounters. According to people familiar with the matter, the wrestler and her attorney approached McMahon in 2018 and negotiated the payment in return for her silence, the people said. So he was out here getting shook down. And then in another previously unreported deal, a WWE contractor presented the company with unsolicited nude photos of Mr. McMahon she reported receiving from him and alleged that he had sexually harassed her on the job, according to people familiar with the woman's 2008 non-disclosure agreement. Vince agreed to pay her roughly $1 million, these people said. So, wow. Yes, when you pick up your phone unsolicited, Vince McMahon just sitting there in his glory. Imagine.
I didn't want to. You just made it like, fuck. So, what was my point? So, okay, so where I was going to get to is like from noticing this story, this report, and then the one or 2 weeks ago, is that like both of these have dropped on Fridays. Am I correct?
Yes, I think so.
Do you get the feeling this is almost like the same thing in sports, where it's like, oh, we just fired our head coach on a Friday at 4:30, and now we report it, and then like real proper news, like it's the weekend, can't get to wherever you need to ask, people are out of the town, blah, 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 blah. Whatever you need to do, it makes the job harder to try to cover this. And then by the time people actually get to it, it's been multiple days have passed now, and it's the news is colder now. Do you get that feeling, or am I feeling going too far conspiracy with it?
I think the interesting thing about this is because WWE still like in the news on a Friday, right?
Right, so but like they're dropping this like before it can like really affect, if you will, like the stock price. That's what I'm really getting at.
Yeah, I could see that. Some of it does like for me, some of it is like, yo, they have their biggest show on Fridays, so we want to like put this news out. Whoever's doing it, possibly.
I didn't think of that part. Yeah.
So like. If I'm not like, I would have to go back and check when that first story dropped, but I feel like it was a Wednesday or something, because there was some mid-tier, not even in the Galaxy AEW controversy that just got swept out the way the first time this came up, but I don't remember what it is because, of course, all of them are ridiculous. But yeah, as far as Vince, like I said, if anybody's going to make him walk away from WWE, it's him. But I feel like something is happening right now, and I'm here for any conspiracy theory anyone wants to throw. You want to say it's Triple H doing this? I'm willing to listen to you. You want to say it's Nick Khan? Sure, why not? But this whole thing, like, just is like, it stinks of
you're okay with people creating their own narrative?
Yes, because unless
you were supposed to say yes that quickly, you're supposed to be like, oh, I don't know about this one. But you were just like, nah, fuck it, we're already here.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah. I feel no sympathy for Vince McMahon.
Nor should you.
And I don't. I see people trying to hype up Stephanie McMahon as a replacement. It's like she knows she's in mixed with the shit too. Like, this is all a family thing. Like, I feel like these are not new things that are being brought to the attention of the inner circle of WWE. Like, and if you believe that, I have a bridge and beachfront property in Idaho to sell you.
Speaking of things from 2008, so I don't know where to go with this. Like, I mean, we're kind of you're talking about it before the weekend started with Finish Shell. We're kind of like at that spot where it's like, all right, that the weird situation with the paralegal that got the promotion, and they basically doubled the salary after, I think Meltzer let it be known that like originally it was supposed to be the salary was going to be tripled, and then they were like, nah, that's too hot.
That's too much.
And then the double still, rang off some alarms. As far as his, whatever.
Wouldn't you call that a smoking gun already right there, James?
Yeah, that's where I'm getting to that. Like, I think, with Finishell talking to him about it, it was kind of like getting to the point where it's like, he was like, well, it's not going to be a thing until, or it's probably not going to be a thing until it's, it's money that he was supposed to spend being used on this. And it's like, well, that's kind of already the case because he doubled the employee's salary. Now we're at the point where it's like, how long before, NBC Universal and Fox's sponsor said, hey bro, like, what is this? Like, we are paying you a lot of money to, to put our advertisements between these, in these commercial breaks. And we do not want to be associated with this brand because the person at the top is, someone that shouldn't be in the music in the entertainment industry as of right now. We deem. So, and like, that's all what it comes down to. What does the money say on this? So like, that's kind of where it is on this. Like, they already have him dead to rights, is whether or not they actually want to fire him. And they actually don't want to fire him or whatever it is to be able to pull the levers that cause him to be gone from his own company. So I think that's kind of where we already are. So now it's like, how many more of these stories or how many more of these news drops are going to have to happen, in order to either die off and there's no more, or he survives, or eventually the levers start getting pulled and he's gone from his own company, or he has to divest or whatever.
Because it's not going to be shame that runs him out. Like, no. This is a shameless individual.
Right.
It's going to be, as you mentioned, the money moving in the wrong direction against him, or there's going to be like, yo, he's going to bring so much shame to the rest of the company. They're going to be like, they're going to vote him out. Or I don't think they can vote him out.
Well, it's whatever lever they have to pull to get him that they actually have within their power within this contract he signed as the whatever. Because it was not Sean Ross Sapp. He does it. Oh, Thurston. It was Thurston that pointed out, like, when the first story dropped, it's like, there's actually something in his paperwork, his paperwork is allowed him to, be gone if involving a morals clause, if you will, or misappropriating funds type of thing. And those funds have already been misappropriated. It depends on whether or not they actually want to do it, because as much money as they've made them, and they already know who they got in bed with, they don't actually want to get rid of him.
Yes. So like, this guy is just the scum, like absolute scum, terrible human being, sex pest, whatever you want to name it. That's what this guy is. I feel like this should always be written about him at this point. This isn't anything honorable. This isn't for me, it is not a so what situation. He, quote unquote, didn't do anything illegal. Like, I don't want to hear none of that shit. Like, I think people need to learn the definition of the word coerce. And also, like, I don't know what type of fantasy world these people are living in. Like, maybe they're living in Vince McMahon's fantasy world where they see like sexual favors being exchanged, and then someone deciding like they don't want to participate in that, and then the retaliation from that. Like, and I know people may think, yeah, then why'd they go down that road in the first place? Well, let's talk about power dynamics. Let's talk about wanting to get like ahead in that company. And I think it was Dave that brought this up. It's going to force you to reconsider the push
pronouns. Which Dave?
Meltzer.
Okay.
He basically had said something about, this is going to make you like kind of reconsider the push of every like marginal female performer in WWE, like ever. I think he also mentioned like this also was like a thing with any promoter ever that like Barnett from Australia when he was in Georgia, talking about like the wrestlers
And, there's even been, people have talked about maybe, what, people have their ideas of why Vince loves Shawn Michaels so much as well. There's always that. There's always this stuff for people always thinking like, this person got pushed, so clearly there must be going on involving someone getting fucked. That is very there. I'm sure there's at different points there's been truth to it. At other points has been just nonsense or whatever else. But it's a part of this competitive art form / entertainment industry thing, and all that stuff gets wrapped up in the people like get into paranoia and thinking things are being worked against them or things are being worked in their favor. It's always all of that. All
I can tell you, if you got Bret Hart on the or off the record in 2022, you could get him on the record in like 1999 saying this. Like, you could get him on national television implying that Shawn Michaels was barebacking his way to main events. There's a promo on YouTube right now you can go watch. And yeah, just add something else to the Shawn Brett thing, which is kind of like a side chapter to this. But yeah, I couldn't be more like revolted by hearing this news, and it's just like, yuck, disgusting. Like, and what do you expect? Like these, like I find like Vince McMahon to be the same type of individual as Robert Kraft, as Donald Trump. Like, it's all the same shit essentially.
Yeah, but it's not even like just their politics. It's just like,
and so we can get away with anything.
No one man should have all this power. Like, that's what it comes down to. Like, when you control or you monopolize more or less an entire industry, these are the kind of things you think that you can get away with. And for a long ass time, he got away with them. And whether it's, you look at all these other industries, whether it was Bill Cosby or Harvey Weinstein, like, this stuff has been happening, and we even have to like reckon with all of this stuff that like these shitty people have done the last few years. And like, there's gonna be more. Like, we had Speaking Out just during the pandemic in 2020, and now there's this, and like, there's always going to be a new story of this kind of thing because people can't fucking behave themselves.
I feel like Vince should get ahead of the game. Like, let's get ahead so where, quote unquote, no more of these things come out. Because I mean, that could always come out. But like, if he takes himself out the game now, lays it down, and like leaves the public eye, like, it would be better for him, I think. But
as far as what? Like his legacy?
Nah, not his legacy, but like, it's just like, bro, like how many? If he knows how many of these there are, right? Only he knows at this point. And right?
I mean, when you're as high as he is, do you think he actually kept count?
I do think he kept count because he had to pay all these people.
I don't think
there are actual books.
I get what you're saying. I don't think he's had to pay every single one of them off. That would make, like, if there's been this many people he's been paying, imagine how many people he didn't have to pay because they were scared.
True. I just feel like the ultimate doors, like it is going to be kicked in, and if he can leave before everyone arrives, better for him. Like, but I don't.
Yeah, I just don't think that quitting while you're ahead, if you will, for lack of a better phrase, is like anything this man has ever been known for. He think of his, like, obviously his real life and his booking philosophy are totally different, but like he beats that horse till it's well dead.
Right.
So, I don't think your exit strategy idea isn't the worst. I just don't think. But I also think that, like, you at the same time recognize that that's not happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like he's going down with the ship. He's kicking and screaming.
Shit, he thinks he is the ship. That's the problem.
Look, and the problem is the rest of them think he's the ship. The executives, the board, the television companies, and it's like, don't you idiots like see like what's going on Turner Network Television right now? Like figure it out, man. Like, this shit is like Like Vince McMahon is not. He's not God, man. Like I don't know how else to put it, but yeah. But yeah, man. I guess we should get to the wrestling here, the actual stuff.
Well, I think there is one more story that is related to wrestling, but is outside of the television and the cameras. Somehow, some way, Jordynne Grace ended up in the shit.
I forgot about this.
Yeah, so I don't have the story in front of me. I just remember the gist of the story is like I saw something about someone had some quotes from her that they pulled on, I think, an interview, and her point was she didn't think or the gist of what was being like the big quote, the big quotes that are, or the gist of the thing of the headline, if you will, is like Jordynne Grace doesn't think Benoit could hang with the top of wrestling by today's standards. And ultimately, you look further into some of her quotes. It's something along the lines of, she thinks due to his advanced CTE, that he wouldn't be able to remember spots and sequences, blah, 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 and therefore he would struggle to compete with the top of the rest of the world. So it brought out all sorts of weird things. People coming out of the woodwork to get on this one. The main thing that I thought was the weirdest thing was like the people that hold on to Chris Benoit as if he didn't murder 2 people before he murdered himself. It's like, hey, like, y'all, look, I understand that y'all still hold that monster dear to your heart, and I can empathize with that when you fall or you have a fondness for somebody that turns out to do something terrible and you don't want to just throw away everything that was just bad about him. But you also have to come to terms with the part where like not everybody's going to feel the same way as you, and a lot of people also felt the way you did until they found out about that, and like they chose to completely drop their investment with that person because they were hurt that this person that they looked up to or respected or admired or was in awe of did this, and like it makes you like question yourself the whole time, right? Like it's like the Tiger Woods affair thing with the medication and the golf club and the crash car times 100,000 trillion, because like someone's gone fucking around with him, and the only person that got hurt and physically hurt in that situation was Tiger Woods trying to get away from his wife trying to beat the hell out of him. But so like for me, and I'm in that category where it's like Chris Benoit, when I was a kid, was one of those wrestlers where it's like I recognized that he was like better than so many of the other wrestlers I've ever seen or whatever else, or one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen just in the ring. Like, there are people that just stuck out to me in that way. Shawn did that, Brett did that, Eddie Guerrero did that, Rey Mysterio did that, Benoit did that. And like when I stopped watching wrestling, I was gone from it, and then like I found out that like he did that, and like I was like, I can't believe this. Like, I never knew that he was capable of that sort of thing, which you don't know that about anybody, but still. And then but that's kind of where I left off with it. I was kind of wasn't emotionally attached to that thing in that way, because like I was gone for that period when he was gone, and Eddie died too. And then like the Between the Ropes doc that they did on it, like brought all of that stuff rushing back to me, and like all of a sudden like I'm 10 or 11, and I remember Benoit like having matches with DDP and shit, right? And I'm just like, oh my god, like I used to love this guy, and I was like watching that thing just in fucking tears, just like, and feeling guilty and in tears, and it's just a wave of this shit over and over and over while I'm watching that thing. So that's where I am on it. So like, so when I look at the people that still hold on to him, I'm just like, hey man, like I used to be one of y'all, but like once that shit happened, I'm done. And like those people that are upset at her is like, y'all got to get a grip, because like what this person did was wrong and not something that you're supposed to be like okay with. Like, there are certain people, and I thought murderers were the people that we did this, were like, you did this thing, like, we don't really have any like kind of redeeming or redemption arcs for you unless this person is still with us to try to redeem themselves. This person ain't here to redeem anything he did or restitute anything. He did this and he's gone. So I just find it weird, but then it turned into a bunch of other stuff, and you're probably better at this, because I was just like, the Benoit stuff, I hear it, I look at it, and I just basically the piece I just gave y'all is like where I leave off with, and I try to get away from it. So like, what was the extra stuff that led to what we saw today?
So she did originally she quote tweeted something, and I guess it just goes with the rule of like there can be nothing good that comes out of tweeting about Chris Benoit. If you talk about, you know, what kind of wrestler he was, you know, anything like that in a positive light, the people that like hate his guts are going to come for you. If you're talking about, you know, him in a negative aspect, the people are going to come for you on like, yo, what about CTE? They're going to start trying to drag you into other conversations that I feel like with Benoit, all these conversations are worthy to be had. Like, especially like knowing more of what I know about CTE. Of course, there's with Benoit, there's other stuff that, hey, he drugged the kid as well. He did like extra stuff beyond. Yeah,
he was
CTE.
Like wasn't he giving the kid steroids for a certain amount of time? Like, and then you know you hear the
like
documentary.
CTE doesn't make you do that,
right? And then you see the documentary, and it was like he was also beating on Nancy before eventually he murdered her too. It's. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
And it was just like a situation like where Jordynne Grace kind of just took I think she just tried to take the Benoit points of, you know, this is someone that's like perpetually online, that rubs some people normally the wrong way with how she, you know, conducts her Twitter persona and stuff like that. And then when you add the Benoit stuff in, it's just a Molotov cocktail, all the things I described, like her normal social media presence, the negative aspect, the positive aspect of, you know, people's reverence for him, and just a whole thing just like blended up to where she ends up making these points that like, I think a lot of people like, yo, you sound stupid, because we know he's someone that a normal person would say, hey, I know this is a murderer, but also like him, like, not being able to hang with the wrestlers, that's just stupid. Because
fundamentally, she's wrong, but like it's one of those, I don't want to say it's a third rail, but it's like you step on that booby trap, that's kind of on you.
Yeah, like there are certain things I think I think the Benoit stuff is like the Hitler of like the wrestling discourse, if you will. When you start talking about Benoit, it can go any direction. Like it can, whatever is, you know, out there to come back to you can come back.
So like talking about like Benoit being one of the best wrestlers like this continent has ever produced is akin to like talking about how the trains always ran on time in Nazi Germany. Like I guess I never really thought about it, but I can kind of see what you mean. Yeah. It's like why are you even what is the need to praise this outside of like just being honest? Like being honest is one thing. Like the people the way like the over the top praise thing is if like he's Pat Tillman, like dying from friendly fire.
Like he was a tragic figure. Like, no, he's not a tragic figure.
He's a tragic figure in the sense of like what the fuck happened to his family. But as far as him, fuck him.
Yeah, and I think T Mess brings up a good quote. He said, "The dude's brain was Swiss cheese by the time he died. What good does talking about whether or not he'd be able to hang, or what good does talking about whether or not he'd be able to hang with guys today do?" Like it's like, huh? It's like obviously you can take a cheap shot at Benoit if you want. Like you could have just said, "I hate Chris Benoit. He's a murderer." You didn't have to try to use his wrestling.
Nobody comes at you once you say it like that, neither.
Right? Like she could have like no context said, retweeted on whoever was like and be like, "Fuck Chris Benoit, like I hate him" or something like that, and it would have been like, "Oh, okay." And then you know, but she tried to be cute with it, and what happened was, you know, that shit blew up, and it's cost her $5,000 now essentially for this.
There's no room for this like on social media for nuance when it comes to Chris Benoit or this sort of thing. Like 100, like what is it? 140 characters, like 120 or 280 characters ain't enough for this. Ain't enough. So yeah, like fast forward to today and she puts out a tweet and, you know, she's in the message apps. She posts the tweet, which is like, oh God. Find out that she donated, a sum, I think you said $5,000 to,
and Chavo had got on her publicly on Twitter a couple of days ago. This is an important part because she mentioned Chavo in this thing, and he was like, "I lost a lot of respect for you when you started talking like this." And I feel like someone tapped her on the shoulder, the big homies of the wrestling industry, and was like, "No, you can't do this." Like, and like a conversation was had and was like, "Yo, like you're playing around with your future in this business." And look, the lesson: never tweet. Never be the main character on Twitter. Like, this shit cost her $5,000, and she's getting, you know, she's donating $5,000, and she made it seem like it was Jericho and Chavo would be matching it, as well as David Benoit's son. She hopped on IG Live, or excuse me, Chris Benoit's son David. She hopped on IG Live with David. And it's just like, it's a lot, man. Like, and then she apologized for pretty much everything. And then Nancy's sister started tweeting about it and going in on Jordynne Grace today.
Oh, shit. What does she have to say?
Man.
Which whatever she said was probably right, like rightful. Is like, wait a second, you said fuck me now you're doing like, you know, donating funds to a charity.
She was like, what about my sister? Like, yeah, essentially.
Yeah. See, like that's ain't no way to win.
Like there's no way to win talking about Chris Benoit on the internet. And someone's probably going to clip this or whatever. Like, I don't intend to make this a YouTube segment or something like this.
Hey,
but
guess what? I'm until the next Chris Benoit fiasco happens, I'm never talking about Chris Benoit again. So have at it.
We've never talked about Chris Benoit on the show.
I think we did on when the
briefly the
podcast or the documentary came out.
Yeah, right.
And I basically what I described as far as my just a spiral of guilt and tears watching it. But like, yeah, that's. But outside of that, we don't talk about that because what's the need for? He's dead and gone.
Yeah.
So he murdered people on the way out.
Sandra Toffaloni said it's weird because she retweeted the Jordynne Grace thing. She's like, it's weird. I didn't hear my phone ring. I really thought, the work that I've been putting in the last 15 years trying to keep and elevate my sister's legacy hadn't gone unnoticed. Guess my family's an afterthought again. I don't know where to fucking start. She said she begged for her to be mentioned 3 days ago and was still left out. And she said, I'm going to go on with a hot take of my own. Say her fucking name. My sister's the one who is the goddamn goat. We're an afterthought, but this devastates one person most, and that's me, and it's me. And then people were explaining to her, like, trying to say Jordynne Grace doesn't really care about your sister. It's more about dunking on Benoit. There's, y'all can go find it. But, this can all be avoided if by not being perpetually online, taking the low-hanging Benoit fruit. Lesson hopefully learned.
The fruit's rotten. All right, so I think now it's time for actual wrestling.
Actual wrestling, yay!
Yeah. So AEW this week. We had an Eddie Kingston match on Rampage that was awesome. Versus Takeshita.
Indeed.
I'm trying to think, what else did we have? Ruby Soho getting her arm broken, and I think broken by Tay Conti. I'm trying to think I don't even know where to start, where to begin with AEW this week. It feels like that was like 2-3 weeks ago as opposed to just 7 days ago.
Yes.
Time is moving in different paces for me right now.
So I am pulling up the
The opener was Wardlow winning the TNT title. I know that much at least. Now that you mention it.
So they were in Rochester, New York. And this was Scorpio Sky defending the TNT title against Wardlow. Of course, all the American Top Team goons were outside. Scorpio Sky kind of been nursing injury. Looks like that's kind of the reason they did it like this. They had all these other guys flying around. He kind of worked like what he could. He kept it short. But this was all about Wardlow. This was a coronation. I think a lot of people were seeing this as saving the TNT championship. Wardlow's really hot. He got a real great reaction. Rochester's kind of a weird crowd, I would say. I remember when they first went there last time, and it was just like they were doing the what chants. Like this was like one of the first crowds that didn't seem like it acted like a traditional AEW crowd. So this was their second time there, and they, Wardlow gets a win, picks up the TNT title. Sky does the job, clean the middle, 4 power bombs, foot on the chest. So I'm sure that gained him some points backstage. But this, this wasn't necessarily about Scorpio Sky. This was getting this shit on Wardlow while he's hot. And I'm eager to see what Wardlow does with it.
Same here. This is a good place for him right now. I'm interested to see what his next, first title challenges are, that sort of thing, and like where he builds to for as far as a program for a proper challenger on like a pay-per-view, but then again, or a big, let's say a big Dynamite, because they don't really do. Silly me, I forgot they don't really do TNT title defenses on pay-per-view, but it's really interesting to see where he goes from here.
He's starting with Orange Cassidy
on Fyter Fest week 2, right?
I think it is this week.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, there you have it. Because they've given they've given Orange Cassidy a couple wins after Forbidden Door. Beating Ethan Page. Yeah, who did he beat this week?
Tony Nese.
That's right. Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see Orange Cassidy and Wardlow. Because it's gonna eventually be good, but you're just like the awkwardness of like the start of how they're gonna get the comedy over to make the Orange Cassidy thing work, and are they gonna overdo it with Wardlow being so big, so much bigger and stronger than him that like it's gonna feel like bullying and the crowd gets behind Orange Cassidy when it's like that's not the point of really doing this, and now it's like I'm thinking
I am kind of perplexed.
It's interesting to see how this goes. It's interesting to see how this goes. Like. Maybe Best Friends and Danhausen need just come out and try to cheat for Orange Cassidy to get Wardlow some keep him from getting turned on or something like that. I don't know.
And I'm kind of perplexed again. I'm like, so what is this shit? Like you crown a babyface champion, then you want to stick him against like more babyfaces. Like, why do you keep doing this, Tony? Is this just a thing you do? Like this is like what was going on with Hangman or very popular people he's facing. It's like find a heel. Like that's what
they don't really have any because one of them took his ball and went fucking home for a work shoot.
Yeah. I'm not like I saw the match on paper and I was like, that's interesting. Well, why the fuck are they doing that? Like that's my thought. Like, but shit, like how about I don't know. Like I would have to pull up the roster to see like who else they could have put in that position, but had to be somebody. They got tons of people. So after that, Smart Mark Sterling was backstage with Tony Nese. He was trying to get Swerve removed from the roster for being a snake, and he's with Keith Lee and said he refused to sign it.
I have a question. So, what did Swerve do to one of Mark Sterling's clients to where Mark Sterling is now filling this out? I may have just missed it or forgotten it.
I missed this, but I guess he's just, I don't know. He's starting this whole thing, but
he's swerving people on he's swerving people on during battle royals. Therefore, he's a snake, and he must be ridded. They must rid themselves of him from the locker room. He's that bad of a toxic presence in the culture of and the fabric of AEW.
It's amazing. Like this is police activity to me, or police adjacent activity that Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs were exhibiting, because they immediately signed this thing or whatever. Keith Lee did not sign this thing. And we're gonna keep going from there. We got Christian Cage and Luchasaurus.
No. Let's go back there a second. Like, look, even if Keith Lee wanted to, he can't sign that on TV. Like, the way, look, you know how he always talk about he's too smart for his own good. You know what happens when you're big and you're black and you do smart for your own good and you do something like that? They start coming out the woodwork and start calling you things that begin with uncle. They call you all sorts of sellouts in, in 4-letter, 1-syllable words that start with C and end with N. So no, like, even his character just can't, like, I remember, I think it was Rick Barry said that he had talked to Shaq and said, Shaq, if you shot free throws underhanded, like, you would make so much more than if you tried it, like, over the top. And then he said, like, Shaq said something along the lines like, that doesn't play to my constituency. Like, Keith Lee, Keith Lee, like, being a sellout does not sell to his constituency. So he's like, in kayfabe, he's like, no, ain't doing it. He ain't done enough to deserve this yet. But I do enjoy, like, he called, Swerve is saying that he is like, they're Shaq and Kobe, and like, he's doing all the young Kobe behavior of just being like, should I trust this guy? Is he an asshole? I don't know. I guess we'll find out soon enough. This is good. I've enjoyed it so far.
Christian, a flamethrower. This man is in the ring, and he said, y'all want to know answers. Y'all want to know about Luchasaurus. Then all of a sudden, Matt Hardy's music started going off. Matt was basically like, Christian, you're unreal. I'll be honest. Jungle Boy was my friend. Jungle Boy trusted you. He respected you. And he originally was the one that said Christian Cage was not to be trusted months ago.
Yeah, but that's also when Matt Hardy was like a sucker and Christian was the good guy.
True.
Yeah. It's crazy. The dynamic has changed now, but, there's long been reasons for like the Christians, or actually when Christian and Edge were considered brothers, what was their last name? Did they have one?
They did not have a last name.
So the Vampires and the Hardys have always had no reason to be distrustful of each other for decades.
Yeah, I can't trust nobody with no last name. So, especially or brothers with no last, like a family with no last name. Like, huh? Like what is that? But
I was about to say, like, wait, you don't trust Prince? It was like, why would you trust Prince? Like, it makes no sense. What am I talking about? Go ahead, Rick. Sorry.
He says, you screwed Jungle Boy. He didn't deserve that. Christian then basically said, you can't pretend you're close friends with Jungle Boy. You're making your brother sound like the sober one. Matt says Cage is using Luchasaurus by trying to make as much money as he can. And then which he did that with Private Party. He says, by a strange twist of fate, that his life has been a mess this past month. And he's making sure nobody gets taken advantage of. Then Christian just like blacks out. He said, look, Matt, you're a clout chaser. And you can't stand your name not being in the headlines. Use your wife, your father-in-law, a boat, or turning a blind eye to your brother's issues for one last run. Cage said he's the hottest and most influential star in AEW, and Matt just wants to be near him. He then said Jeff isn't the most embarrassing thing to the family. He is. And he said, the time for talking is over. And then they attacked him 2-on-1. Luchasaurus beat his ass, put him through a table, fuck him up. And yeah. Now,
it was funny that he mentioned the dilapidated boat, because like, I think last week was like I think I saw on Twitter, it was like either a 4 or 5 year anniversary of like one of those deletions that involved a dilapidated boat. Like, bro, when you watch that, you're just like, yo, like,
how did this work?
It was awful then. It's somehow worse now. And it got him over. It's like, what the fuck? Like,
yo,
like, it's so like American pro wrestling, like, I can't even say that. I tell you, I'm gonna say American pro wrestling. Pro wrestling is so fucking weird on what works and what doesn't. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just, it's all about timing. It's timing more than anything else. If something makes sense, then it worked, whatever. Like, if it sucked, it'll get like a cult following regardless. It's so weird.
If enough time passes, anything will become underrated.
Yeah.
Christian using Jeff Hardy's issues in the promo, kind of like something that, that has been attached to Jeff for years. Like WWE's done storylines about it. Luckily, this is just like, hey, this is something a guy mentioned in the promo. Of course, they don't kind of write their promos for them, so I can't directly like point the finger at TK, but there was some type of convo one would assume was had with Matt and Jeff. I assume like these guys, they've been in wrestling for years and years. They know what it is at this point. It's not like they were actually making him take sobriety tests on television or he was pretending to crash a car on television. I think that would be a step too far. The heel said something really mean designed to make you uncomfortable here, I think. But Christian is gaining quite a following these past couple weeks.
So he's a best promo nominee now, right? After these 3 weeks or so, something like that. It's been 2-3 weeks.
There's so many good promos. I can't just like
I'm
there.
Well, it's going to continue. And it's almost like Lost Ones Jay-Z. We talked about it with Sasha Banks and Nicki Minaj. Sasha Banks and Naomi leaving WWE or whatever, dropping those belts on the table and walking away. And like their ideas, they can replace Sasha Banks, and people are like, okay, make another Hove. And it's like MJF told Tony Khan, okay, make another MJF, and he was like, okay. You ain't saying nothing, bitch. I will pull this attitude hair-ass C-level wrestler up, and I will let him just do what you do. Except when it's in a fucking black turtleneck every single week. And it's been fucking hilarious. Because it's like, this is like what MJF would do. He's just been an edgelord insult comic, just lambasting people, like, out, just with, like, flat out like fighting words and then never fighting. Like, yes, he is now MJF. When are we going to see Christian wrestle again?
Who knows?
Maybe the pay-per-view.
Maybe the pay-per-view. I believe MJF has done a grand total of 4 matches this year. So
that's what I'm getting at. Talk shit and leave. Wrestle? Why?
For who? Yeah, so after that, Jake Hager and Claudio Castagnoli were face-to-face. Hager says he knows his former partner. He knows he's not as hard as him. He's not as rock hard as the big hoss, Jake Hager. You
have to do this.
He said that he would never be a world champion. Not that you weren't one in WWE. You weren't one in ROH. And he wants his respect. Claudio said anyone who doesn't deserve respect, he said anyone who says that doesn't deserve respect at all. He points out what he's done in AEW so far. He said next week he's going to be 3-0. And he cut a good promo here. So did Hager. I'm kind of excited for this match.
Yeah, I think his response was something along the lines of like, I think he called him like a bag boy for Jericho or something like that. Yeah, and it was like, watching this, I was like, oh, those are two guys that they say they couldn't talk. Okay. All right. Like, obviously this is backstage or whatever else, but like and now obviously they have a history with each other, but like, they could have done this in WWE.
So they made that match for next week. So that'll be interesting. We had Butcher and the Blade against Keith Lee and Swerve.
If Cesaro can't get none out of Hager, he just gotta only wrestling in tag matches from here on out. He can't never be in nothing with less than 4 people in it. Is that fair?
I'm not clamoring for singles Jake Hager matches, so.
But you get where I'm getting at. Like they have the history together. People know them. They're linked in their wrestling history. They said insulting things to each other that should be get on either the skin because they know each other so well. So that everything's set. Only thing left is for the bell to ring. If the bell rings and it ain't working between the two bells, then we're kind of done here as a singles wrestler. Not that he wrestles in a single that much anymore anyway, but like at this point, like give him the Brock Lesnar schedule. Like Brock Lesnar only comes out for like WrestleMania and SummerSlams. Give him the thing where he only comes out for Blood and Guts and for Anarchy in the Arena / Stadium Stampede.
I think he does that already.
Make it official.
Butcher the Blade.
Hire him per date.
Stupid. Lee and Swerve. I thought this was at the beginning. This match, something was off. There was a lot of timing issues. I thought there was messing stuff up, saving spots. And then towards the end, it all kind of came together towards the end. But a lot of this match was a struggle.
It was like Swerve went for or
it was a leapfrog or something.
Swerve went for a leapfrog and he jumped way too early for some reason. And I don't know if, because obviously it's based off speed and pacing, whatever else. And I don't know if the blade like slowed down or whatever the fuck happened. But basically, like Swerve jumped and like Blade saw that he wasn't gonna get through, so he tried to duck underneath, and he still ended up, the tunnel basically came crash down on top of him, and then they were like basically playing catch up for a good chunk of the match, trying to get themselves back on program, and then by the end of it, they had that a great closing stretch. Yeah.
It seemed like Butcher was struggling in particular. Like after it was just nothing was going right for him. It was just like a bad night at the office. But as you mentioned, they did get a hot closing sequence out of it, and they set up the finish really nicely. Like they were just kind of in the corner with it felt like naturally, and they put away Blade with the finisher there.
Yeah, double or the top rope foot stomp power bomb combination.
Yep. So after that, Hobbs, their music's playing, then Hobbs and Starks storm out. This is still going. And Hobbs is saying he's tired of being disrespected. Starks is like, he starts trying to do his junior Ric Flair routine. He's like, you two want to act like you're somebody, you're not on our level, you're several levels below us. Here's the deal. You want to talk about who the best tag team is, da-da-da-da. And then all of a sudden, Super Kick Party, the Young Bucks music hits. After that, Matt Jackson said, hey guys, great match. The tag division's on fire. Everybody's eating well, but don't forget who set the table in the first place. Then promo god Nick Jackson hops on the mic and says, you two teams are very good. At Double or Nothing, you guys had a hell of a match, 4.5 stars. But you couldn't get the job done. That's a regular night for the Young Bucks. That's an off night for the Young Bucks. He said, you guys couldn't get the job done. Jurassic Express beat you guys, and guess who beat Jurassic Express? And then that's us. And then Matt's like, hey, next week, how about Triple or Nothing? Let's all run it, essentially. So a lot of FTR chants during this whole thing because
they have you.
Go ahead and tell them, James.
Yeah, like they are holding off the match because that is the big match. You're not outsmarting them. They're doing that on purpose to get you to want the match even more. Very similar to when they gave the beat down to Hangman after that 5-way match to get the title shot in the summer of last year, where they beat him and then they whooped his ass and sent him away for months, or like a month or months, whichever one it was. Like it's the same thing. They have you. Enjoy the ride. When FTR beats them for like 7 different world tag titles, you're going to love it. You're going to love it.
Yeah.
We talked about this like 2-3 weeks ago. It's even more obvious that's where they're headed now.
Right. So we got a triple threat match or 3-way dance set up between the Bucks, Swerve and Our Glory, and Hobbs and Starks.
It's almost guaranteed there's going to be another one of those WCW triangle matches, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. I would imagine. This should be excellent. You sub out Jurassic Express from the pay-per-view, and then you add in the Bucks. I'll say this, like, there will be, like, if there are any questions about the ring work of a Starks or a Hobbs, like, this will be the last time to silence anyone that may have a negative opinion of them if they don't hold up their end. I think they will be out in the cold with no blanket. I would say, because it's not going to be anybody else's issue there. But
Yeah.
As far as like, I'm very interested to see Swerve and Lee in there with the Bucks. I think I would have kind of preferred that to be the single, just 2-on-2 tag match.
Yeah, but it feels like that would have been a cool match to have if like there actually plans on Swerve and Keith Lee being together for real long term. Mm-hmm. And I've always felt like this was they were on borrowed time together. Mm-hmm. Like, so we'll see how they deploy them eventually whenever they eventually separate, but I never thought they were going to be together for like 2 years or a year and a half. I just never got that feeling.
Yeah. I'm interested to see which way the finish goes. Is this like, because I feel like we still have to get to the 2-on-2 match of like Hobbs and Starks and Swerve.
You had
and Lee.
One of those, right?
They've only done one after all this time. So I feel like obviously the Bucks slide out the door with the titles, the back door, and it's just who gets pinned this time. Like last time in the three-way match, Swerve got pinned. So like, does Ricky get pinned this time? Like,
why do I feel like Hobbs is more likely to get pinned than Starks?
He could. And it could be basically, I think basically Lee and Swerve will have them dead to rights, and then like the Bucks will swoop in and something will happen. But that's just my prediction. But after that, we had Eddie Kingston was interviewed by Tony Schiavone. He said, before we get to Jericho, Wardlow, congratulations. Congratulations to everyone on the team. One blood and guts, even you, Claudio. He said, Chris Jericho, you made me a liar. I didn't taste your blood. You didn't bleed. It showed the Wizard backstage, and he kind of cut him off. He said, Kingston, you want to taste my blood? Let me show you how crazy I can get. And then Ty Conti was standing there. Ruby Soho was kind of hunched over, and Jericho was like, basically, sure. And then they slammed Ruby's arm in the vehicle, and then they leave her just kind of, in the middle of the road to die, essentially, and scoot off.
So, and then it also brings back memories of when Hager broke Dustin's arm in 2008 and 2019 during the Cody Jericho thing. Only thing, like, I don't think there was a cigar in this situation. That would have been hilarious if Jericho remembered that, and it was like, this is what I do. I break people you love's arms, and I roll up a pack on them, or fire.
Can't do that. TNT is not with the smoking. That's like one of the few things. So, people think all these, like, Discovery has all these strict things, and TNT has all these strict things that they can't do. Like, hey, they can't bleed. They can't, do these dangerous things. It's like, nah, the only thing they've ever got in trouble for is smoking and the pizza cutter thing. That's it.
That makes sense because, like, there are a lot of TV shows where there is our characters don't smoke thing, right? But all right. So my question for you: when you first watched it, what do you think Ruby was going for? Was she dazed and she was trying to find and she was trying to basically find some type of balance against the car because she was staggered, or she just got up and decided to stick her hand in the fucking car? Because it looked a lot like she was sticking her hand in the car. But I'm trying to give artists interpretation of what it looks like to you're stammered in stammering. That's the word I'm going for. You're stammering. You're trying to find your balance, and you're trying to reach for anything, and then you stick your hand in there and catch it. But it didn't look like it was well acted.
Yeah, I thought it was a case of I just assumed Ty Conti had already done a number on her, and she was staggered. So that's what I took it as. I don't know if I was paying attention that closely. I saw a lot of people saying this looked really bad.
It looked so awkward. I was like, this just has to be where she just, her interpretation of what she was going for. It didn't come out in the wash in the way that you would hope.
Yeah. Either way, she got her arm slammed on this thing, kind of drives home this connection between Ruby and Eddie Kingston, and further moves that along. So interested to see where it goes. They later announced a barbed wire. I forgot what the fuck they call it, a barbed wire massacre match or something like that.
Yeah, they announced it on Rampage, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's this week. It's going to be next week. So
yeah, and also it's like it's another Jerichoism of people being up in a cage.
Yes, with a shark cage, and then Shark Week or some shit. So like it's all blending together here. So after that, we had the Dark Order out in the ring. As I mentioned, they were in Rochester. Fans were chanting Brody, Brody, Brody. Of course, home of Brody Lee. Silver's like, the Dark Order is in, Rochester, and Rochester's Dark Order country. Evil Uno says we have very important news. This is coming fresh off the news that Alan Angel's no longer with the promotion. I guess we should mention that. So Alan Angel's, I believe they offered him to resign. He said nah, essentially because like he wants to get out there and make himself a bigger name. Wasn't like they were really using him like that. And looking at the landscape, it's like he just wasn't going to get an opportunity at this point. And that kind of stinks, like I think. And it's that unfortunate side effect. I think guys, in his situation, it was really smart to come into AEW when he did. Obviously there was a pandemic, couldn't wrestle anywhere. Now he can, use whatever like kind of clout he gained from AEW to roll into other places. I know he's booked all over the place. He did Impact last week, had a match with Speedball Mike Bailey. Really enjoyed that. I really like Speedball Mike Bailey a lot. He's someone that I will be following closely.
From what I heard, he's like a most outstanding wrestler contender this year so far.
Yes.
Yeah.
I see it like like he's an assassin with the feet, got all the flips. He's awesome. But back to Alan Angel's case. So like he leaves and that opens up a lot of discourse and stuff like that. And I was pretty like, I feel like I'm going to follow Alan Angel's career simply because of how he came onto the national spotlight, like with Kenny and stuff like that. I just want to see what happens to this guy. Is that the only reason? Yeah, I would say so. And he's got his own, talent and everything, but like I feel like he's kind of linked, with this guy.
I thought it was kind of on some along with that, it's also like the extra fuck Ryan sad energy. Like I thought that was gonna come apart because it's like, bruh.
I mean, it kind of goes with that. Like
the like, and I don't even necessarily think you like hate Ryan Sad. I just think he just like I do think he said something that was really dumb. Yeah. Right. And it was like, and then he doubled down on it. People were like, nah, bro, you're wrong on this. Like, this happens in all the wrestling outside of WWE of like people taking people a little bit longer than 5 minutes or whatever else. And then like also he thought that Kenny Omega's finishing move was a V-trigger when it's not. So it's like, nah, man. Nah.
Yeah. So they did end up, him and Kenny, they had 2 matches in AEW, and the second one was like, like a 6-minute match, and then I think Kenny gave him more the next time, and I remember that because that was like, I think his last TV match that he did before he went away, and I was like, man, it looks like Kenny got his springs back a little bit, and Alan Angels, that was kind of like, I think that may have been the last time we got to see him on the main show. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, man, it stinks. And a little bit, and when I get back to this Dark Order segment, I'm seeing these guys in the ring, and I'm like, they basically say, yo, the 6 of us are here to stay, and Dark Order is forever. And we begin a new chapter, and a new chapter begins with a new proclamation. They give the mic -1. And then I'm like, man, this is a really tough segment to kind of take, because it's like, yo, these guys have been starting to get eliminated. Like Cole's not around. This guy, Alan Angel, is not here. Mm-hmm. And there's only 6 of them there. And it's like, well, what the fuck? Like, and then their leader died. And then I was like, man, the day that this is not a thing, if that ever happens, which it looks like
there's a great chance it won't be. Yeah.
People are going to be really like people are going to be hurt by this. Like that, this is like, and I don't know if this is their parasocial relationship with the promotion and AEW, and like forming these connections with these people, watching these vlogs and stuff like that. It's just like, I just took it away. I was like, people are going to be devastated when this doesn't exist anymore, because I feel like it's coming.
Okay, so I'm with you. I'm just right now looking up the definition of parasocial, because I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, I ain't heard that one before. You got me good with that one, bitch. I was like, wait, what? Excuse me? But yeah, okay, now don't call it the speed now, because you had left me in the dust for a minute. Yeah, I get it. I guess maybe I think because I'm not nearly as committed to AEW through like stuff like BTE or watching Dark like outside like the first few episodes of it, or something like Dark Elevation, to where like or the vlogs outside like the clips of something funny or interesting or felt like it's going to lead to something being on the television. I haven't really got the bond that people would have in that way with Dark Order, because like they were a huge staple of BTE. So I get exactly what you mean. It just, I guess maybe I'm fortunate enough to where like I didn't invest in that way. So like I'm probably going to avoid that, but I absolutely get what you're saying, because like they were dead to rights until Brody Lee showed up. It wasn't as bad as the Nightmare Collective, but it was like, okay, so like, is this an incel cult thing? What the fuck is this? This kind of stinks. And then Brody Lee shows up and he's doing this man like parody stuff, and that's interesting. And then he's like, he's bullying out John Silver, and it's fucking hilarious. And then he's squashing people, and it's fun. And then he wins the TNT title from Cody by squashing him. And then they bring out Anna Jay as the Queen Slayer, and she chokes out Brandy. And it felt like they had a lot of steam to them, and it very much saved the act. And then like as soon as it got hot, like that's as fast as Brody was off TV. Like, I can't remember. Did he even have a match after the match with Moxley for the title? Was that his last match?
His last match was with Cody for the title in that dog collar match.
Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah. So, it was this thing where it's like, it wasn't working. So the person that made it work is gone. Now it's like, and for a while they were getting a lot of steam out of the Adam Page thing, and it gave a lot, at a time where Adam Page needed friends, he was their friend. At a time when they needed a leader, they used him as a leader, and without him actually officially becoming the leader of Dark Order, they were friends, and like everybody enjoys and is fond of their friendship when it's on screen and all that kind of stuff. We always enjoy when they both make saves for each other, and even a couple weeks ago, when Silver and Page teased everyone, eliminate each other in that over the top rope battle royal, that was fun. But I don't know how long. I don't know what their use is now at this stage in the game in AEW outside of Adam Page at this point. And like, if they want to do a Adam Page and John Silver and Evil Uno as a trios match for the trio stuff, I'm all for it. Or if you want to, still do Silver and Reynolds as, a team that gets the wins on Dark, and then might get one win every blue moon, or win a tag team battle royal to face the Young Bucks or whoever else are the tag team champions, and eventually lose, cool. But as far as kind of the space they occupied, I feel like that turf's kind of been taken up by a bunch of different places from a bunch of different people in different ways, right? Like Swerve came in, Red Dragon came in, like there's all, Keith Lee came in, Kings of the Black Throne came in, like it feels like all this stuff is kind of been taken up that was theirs. And like those people are just bigger names / more talented. And I don't know what to do than shrug and say, you had your opportunity and it's unfortunate what'll happen to y'all. But like outside of some of these parts that they could use here and there, I don't know what the use of, what the utility of Dark Order is going forward into the future. And I don't mean to say that as if like, oh, they always sucked or nothing like that. Nah, because Silver was a great tag team. Grayson, when he was still here with Uno, was a very good tag team. You give someone that looks like Preston Vance a shot. Alan Angels is someone that you see what he's done in the ring. He deserves a shot somewhere. Anna Jay deserves a shot in the women's division. But like as far as them being the unit in or whatever, or a faction or whatever, I don't know how that's going to work going forward. Because they don't really have like a front man in that way that demands TV time or TV presence or whatever else. Or front woman. But you get my point. Like I think that like the Anna Jay and Tay Conti thing of their dynamic now that Tay's a heel and how they're going to play off that and how they're going to react to each other is more interesting than like really anything they have going for them right now that doesn't involve Hangman.
Yeah. It's like the talent has showed up and there's a lot of pieces of AEW that just they're
kind of
getting lost, like, you know, outgrown.
But I mean, that's kind of how it goes in history. Like we talk about this often as far as like, you know, the great players you've seen in your era or for a certain stretch of time. And then like, how are people going to remember them after X amount of time passes? Like, am I going to be that old man trying to tell y'all how absolutely fucking cold Baron Davis was? And then like pull up on YouTube this at this time for my, you know, my little cousin who's born in 2012, and show him this for him was this grainy ass video of him dunking on Andre Karolinko. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a tough ask. Like, as time passes. And like, I think, you know, I guess the best way to say it is like, given how bad it went for them to start up, like where they ended up and how long they lasted is better than I would have imagined.
Yeah, I thought Dark Order was going to be done as of the end of last year, personally. Like, and that was like maybe like a year before that I had made that prediction. Like, I was having a conversation with somebody and it was just like, yeah, I can't see it lasting any longer. And they've outlasted that. So I don't know where it goes from here, but I hope that all these guys kind of remain in the mix somewhere. The whole segment kind of ended with, you know, them QT coming out, basically said, you know, like they fuck QT up and -1 says, I'm going to pin you. Or he was like, you know, I'd pin you, but I'm going to wait till I'm 18. And then.
And you know, someone said jokes about long-term booking. I was like, how old is -1?
I think he's 11, 10, maybe.
We really got to wait this long and still have QT march around this much longer? Nah, man. Like, look at where he's at right now. Like,
hey, man, QT might be like booking WWE by that.
Let him look. He wants to continue to coach. I ain't got no problem with it. But like out here in these streets, really doing this still, nah, man, let that go.
You know, the shaboing boing factory. You know, maybe, you know, they may have a Stanford address at that point, so who knows?
You have to tell me, like, because I only know the shaboing boing through like the Tommy Davidson Martin thing. What is a shaboing boing in terms of like the night? Okay. Okay.
So up next,
there's no way I remember this. It's gonna be lost of time until I listen to the podcast and I'll be like, oh yeah, Rich, what is this shit? You tell me like tomorrow at like noon.
Yeah. So we had Penta versus Roosh. I expect nothing out of Roosh. Like normally like usually Roosh is like is more style than substance. It's more charisma than actual boom. But Penta decided we ain't and Roosh too, I guess. You know, he decided that we're working tonight. and they had a nice little match. They was hitting each other hard, doing athletic stuff, and I enjoyed this a lot.
This was a very good match. And like the same things you're saying about Roosh, like I don't fully disagree with him. I just come from a different angle. I just don't think he cared when he was in Ring of Honor. And like now that he's in a bigger spot, he's going to try harder. I just think it's a full on motor thing, and like it's really weird that someone that is the brother of Dragon Lee, one of the hardest go hards in the history of go hardingdom, whatever. It's totally different. Totally different. Like it's almost like if you had told me he was raised in two different households, I'd be willing to listen because like I don't know. It's totally different. They're totally different get downs when they're in the ring. But yeah, like this was some of the best Roosh I've ever seen. It really was. And like the thing when you watch him is like, kind of the same thing you think when you think of like in a very different way. Like Randy Orton is like, look at all the stuff he could do. He's clearly not trying as hard as he could. He clearly isn't. And you're like, all right, well, I know that because look how easy everything looks to him. He's clearly not trying, or you would assume that. But so that's kind of where you take off with Roosh. So like, I see why like you think like he's only but so good. It's like, nah, man, that dude's really good. He just ain't trying. He ain't applying himself, Smokey. So now that he's here, I'm really interested to see how it goes. Like, I hear there is a tag match between Andrade and Roosh and Lucha Bros, and I can't wait for that. That's going to be a smoker.
That would be awesome. He pulled Penta's mask off at the end. So Roosh is the mask grabber. So there is no it is not a disqualification in AEW ripping off the mask like it is in Mexico. So until that's put in, Roosh gonna run wild.
Yeah. How many times have they done a spot where like Phoenix or Pentagon has had Penta has had their mask taken off in AEW? This is at least the third time. It's probably like 5.
I think the Bucks have definitely done it. Like,
they definitely. That's why they end up killing. That's why they end up killing. What's it called in the ladder match?
Yeah, Matt.
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah,
they. I don't know who else has done it besides Roosh off the top of my head, but
I feel like there's been like I feel it's happened one other time at least.
So after that, we had Satnam Singh, Sanjay, and Jay Lethal. Lethal was happy that the ROH World Champion or World Television Champion Samoa Joe agreed to face him at Death for Dishonor. And looking at that pay-per-view, looks like it's something to pay attention to. I'm going to pull the card up real quick.
So I know, there is a presumed main event, but like the match that will probably grab the most attention will be a rematch between FTR and the Briscoes, correct?
Right. So there are so we've got Samoa Joe and Jay Lethal ROH World Television title match, Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia Pure Rules match, FTR and the Briscoes, Mercedes Martinez and Serena Deeb. And then Jonathan Gresham will be defending the ROH title, and we'll talk about him when we get to the Rampage part. But and no idea who the opponent is, so we'll see. But all the graphics look dope. I don't know how the tickets are doing. I don't think it's like lighting the world on fire, but it's like, for what ROH was doing, I think it is up.
It's in like Lowell, Massachusetts, right?
It is a rundown city.
You said that, not I.
A very rundown town. Lowell, Massachusetts. The first time I ever went to the studio, it was in Lowell, Massachusetts. So I'll never forget Lowell, Massachusetts. So after that, we got the Acclaimed and the Gun Club teaming up to take on Fuego del Sol and Roughing It. That was Leon Ruff and the Bears. So after that, Max came out to do his rap. Austin Gunn snatches the mic, give me this. Yes. We should put Kaguma in with these gentlemen. Yes. So people talk about stuff and crossovers they want to see.
Bear Boulder and Kaguma, what?
Look, these people need to use their minds, James. When they talk about these crossovers, all they do is book dream matches. Like, no, we need to book stuff that it makes perfect sense, but not until you see it on screen. Like, of course, Kaguma would hang out with Bear Country. Duh.
Bears?
Yes.
Oh my god.
After that, Austin Gunn grabbed the mic from Max Caster, turning him into a big heel. Then they basically make short work of Fuego and roughing it. Austin Gunn steals the tag at the end, stole the pin. After that, they did some arguing, and then the Gunn Club, traded hands with the Acclaim. Then Billy Gunn turned on Max and Anthony Bowens, who could have seen that coming.
I did. A mile away.
Same.
Right.
So Billy Gunn is with the Sons, and they turn the Acclaimed babyface.
Right.
Bowens is like holding him up, like, please give me the scissors or whatever. It ain't so.
Yes. And that's where I was getting at, because it's like
Anthony Bowens looked great this week, by the way.
Yeah, he normally looks very good in the ring. So when he does the thing, is like, but Papa ass, are we still cool? Like, it's not too late just to change course on this. And I was sitting there, I was like, when this kind of shit happens in Stardom, I have to hear like Rich bury some shit for like 5 minutes to over emotionally rot, and I'm just like, this happens because it's so fucking ridiculous. We can just laugh and move on. But fine, whatever. I'm not hating on them, because I fucking howled when he did it, because I thought it was the funniest shit ever. Like, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. You're a grown ass man.
Get your ass up.
Yes.
Fight.
But it was fucking hilarious. And then like Anthony Bowens, like, I guess like later at some point, like, tweeted out at 2 Papa ass, and I was like, and I fucking howled again. This should not be this funny, but it absolutely was.
It's time to flip the Acclaimed babyface.
Oh yeah,
well overdue.
Yeah. They're turning babyface is gonna work, but like this whole like the heel turn, like, it's such a lame heel turn because it's the ass boys. But it works, so whatever.
Tell you that ass, and then like when the fuck shit happens, and then that Ass Boys theme song plays, bro, that shit is hilarious. I don't know why it makes me laugh, but it invokes almost like the old Jake the Snake music, but it's not nearly as good. So after that, Miro was backstage. He had words from Malachi Black. I don't care about anything they potentially have to say to each other. A lot of God and the devil and fuckery talk. I have no interest. Get your ass in the ring and throw your sets up. Like, that's all I need from those two gentlemen. So you have to pick it up from here, James. I actually had a family emergency at this time, and I had to leave watching Dynamite from this point.
Okay.
So it was the tag team match, Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm against Nyla Rose and Maria Shafir. I remember about half of this match,
buddy.
and we had an interesting conversation to Fallout that I think we started last week on the show that I think would be pertinent to continue.
So they basically just get in the ring, and all four say, hey, let's just stiff each other as if like this is like the third match on a Stardom Road 2 show. And like, for me, it was fun as hell to watch. And I'm like, look at these four, or just come out here and just say, hey, fuck all that other shit we were doing. Let's just hit each other hard. And like, we'll see what happens from there. And like, I really enjoyed the match. Like, there was a point where I can't remember who it was. It may have been Toni Storm. Or no, it was Rosa, I think. Rosa had got into the corner, got Maria Shafir into the corner and chopped her. And Shafir just like, she chopped her so hard that Shafir like kind of like, she kind of like braced in a way, like she didn't want no more, but she didn't like, so it looked like Thunder Rosa was about to lay off, and then Shafir yells out, "Do it!" And then she like just hit her just hard as again, and like, you know, the crowd was into it a little bit, and this was a fun match. I forgot at the end of it, it was bowling shoe ugly or whatever else, but like it was physical and I enjoyed it. And like at the end, Tony Storm, you know, put that ass on one of them, and then the Bayface Thunderstorm got the win. So so from the conversation we had, you gotta kind of remind me, because we've had like 2 different conversations about Marina Shafir in the last few weeks, like off air.
Because I've seen a lot of people still pushing back on her inclusion, like on television, and it's like, I believe you said send her to Stardom for 6 months, send her to and put her in God's eye, and then she'll come back much improved. And then I was like, yo, like there's something about her that I think is where I don't want to give up on her, because obviously the PC gave up on her, I would say, far too, like they never even really gave her a chance, right?
Yeah.
And then like I think she has something where I don't think she's good, I don't think she's over, but like it says a lot that she's willing to, that she's not afraid of contact, she's willing to be physical, and like that is endearing to me, at least, because, you know, there are wrestlers who have made a career out of avoiding contact. I won't name any names, but you guys know exactly who they are if you have a history with listening to One Nation Radio. And I don't want to throw Marina Shafir aside.
Yeah. So, my whole point was, as you mentioned, like if she was able to tour in Stardom, for example, and she could wrestle, just be able to get more experience. Because you look at the number of matches she's had outside of WWE, and they're, in general, like they're poor at, or they've been poor at training people ever since the PC started, because like they brought into way too many wrestlers for an amount of people they're trying to actually, you know, mold into wrestlers. You would imagine, right? It's like overcrowded classrooms. Basically.
And she's got a specific style that I don't think really lends itself to.
Oh, yeah. There we go. So I remember now. Like my point was like she's a shoot style wrestler, and it's like where is she? Given how American wrestling is, like there aren't that many women in America that do shoot style wrestling, and like so then you throw in that how many times would she be able to work with those people, and then like. Even someone like Roddy Strong, who is a wrestler's wrestler, but has a little bit of in his game, like that shoot style kind of stuff of mat grappling, whatever else. Like, we don't know how good of just because he's really good doesn't mean he's good at teaching it. So like, and there's something to be said where like you practice this stuff, and then like you got to get it in front of people and perform it. So like I think she needs the experience of being in the ring with a number of people that can actually do that, like, you know, like a Shuri, for example, or a lot of like the judokas that are also, you know, throughout Joshi, that like, oh, you have a similar background, we know how to kind of port this into the sports entertainment, pro wrestling spectrum, as opposed to you were a trained fighter in like, you know how to, you have the hardware, but not necessarily the software. And like, I think, you know, given, you know, the look, the tan, the toughness, and the physical attributes of the athleticism that came from being a combat fighter, like, I think there is something there. Is she over or charismatic? No, not right now. But like, we've seen people over time develop in those areas, and like, she clearly seems that she wants to do this, but like, I think it's going to come down to the holdup of like, or not the holdup, but like, if she wants to be as good as she could possibly be with this, like, she's going to have to get more matches to be able to get better at this. And I think the fast place, or the places where I think the fastest route for her would probably be Japan. And,
you know, look no further than the current AEW Women's Champion. If we were to throw her out in her formative years, that would have been a colossal mistake, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Like, so, I don't know, man. Like, I think people should be, you know, like what you like. You know, if you're on screen, you're like, I don't need to see this person develop on my screen, and you have that kind of attitude, whatever. But when I'm looking at these people that obviously someone believes in because she's getting a lot of TV time, right?
Yep.
And it's just not going well, right? And whether she's quote unquote falling on her face, like some people may think she's doing all right. Like, I think there's just something intriguing still there, and I'd be willing to exhaust all avenues to make sure there's nothing there, rather than just move off too quickly, especially like how because they've been trying her out on Dark like months ago. Then she's finally kind of made it to Dynamite in the last couple months, and it was like, well, I don't know who here can really bring it out of her in the way, like, I don't think Dustin Rhodes is going to be teaching MMA shoot style stuff. So like I think if it was a case where they stapled her to somebody, sent her to Japan, use the contacts, use the resources that you have as a company. If you really believe in her, invest, because I think you'll get something back.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because it's like, it doesn't feel like she can't hang in the ring physically. It just feels like she doesn't necessarily know what to do with all the options she has at her disposal. And like, that's kind of the thing, is like trying to figure out, it's not what all you can do, but what you're good at, or what works for what you're trying to do. Is trying to narrow down all that stuff. So like, I think like there's not really I think, who would be the closest thing to like a shoot fighter in AEW? Would it be like Thunder Rosa, or would it be like Sheeta, just because of the background of martial arts?
Like Thunder, Ty Conti.
Ty Conti, yeah. That would be it. And I think like there is room for somebody, and hers comes from a base of striking more than like ground wrestling, whatever else. Like, I think there's space for it, and like I think there's also space for her to work creatively in America. Like we saw, like in NXT, Shayna Baszler was able to be successful doing that in NXT, and then she got to the main roster, and then Vince said, "Hey, let's let her." They didn't want her to do that. He didn't see the vision in that. I just think there's a space for that, and like, quite frankly, it's like, I need somebody to be like, somebody that can like come over here and also be a co-headliner for when eventually like Sherry comes over for Bloodsport, so that I can like be interested enough to want to like attend. I want to see Sherry in the Bloodsport. I want an American counterpart that can hold up with her. That's really what it comes down to. There's so like that wasn't the whole thing, but like, that's how I'm wrapping up to make it sound like I'm a selfish jerk. So that's how we wrap that one up. So
main evento.
Well, before that, we had
there was more stuff.
Yeah, backstage interview with Jade Cargill and the baddies, and the assistant baddie. And Jade was annoyed that Stokely recruited Layla Gray, and Hathaway said that like it took a special type of finesse to turn someone over to their side, and it talked about like, kind of grooving her one, and then Jade Bates was like, if it doesn't deliver in the future, if she doesn't deliver, like, it's gonna be her ass. And then like, you can still kind of see the uneasiness between like Layla Gray and Stokely. Like, nobody trusts anybody, and it's like, let's see where this goes. Like, I think it's gonna end up where they all become kumbaya or whatever else. But it's interesting to see like the growing pains of building trust.
I gotta disagree with Jade here. I'm more than fine with Layla Gray sticking around.
Well, I am too, but I'm not Jade, who is also, untrustworthy of all of everybody else that's trying to come after that bitch, because she is, after all, that bitch. And when you are that bitch, you think people are trying to stop you from being that bitch. So I get it.
Yes.
So the main event.
Jon Moxley defends against Brody King.
So, I mean, I'm not gonna spend much time trying to describe this match, but it was a good match, but I was kind of underwhelmed. It felt like Jon Moxley took too much of the match. And it was kind of weird to think of like that match compared to other big wrestlers, monster wrestlers he's wrestled, like a Brody King, like a a Brody Lee, like a Lance Archer. It felt like he gave those people space to do their thing, whatever else. And I know the situation, what made it be different, I don't know, but it just felt like he just took it to him and didn't leave much of room to give, that belief of this is a monster, and in raw spots, all that kind of stuff to make him like, larger than life, if you will, make you feel like Mox was actually in danger. Obviously, the circumstance of that being the first defense after becoming the champion again or interim champion, does hurt it, but you gotta give your opponent something if you want to make this match entertaining in that way in the main event. And I don't think it quite got there, but the match was still technically good. I think the match ends up ending with Moxie ended up putting him in I think it was a bully choke. Am I wrong on that? Yep, bully choke. They end up leading to a ref stoppage. Moxie wins, and they end up going to black.
Man, so John Moxley gave more to Wheeler Yuta than he did for Brody King.
Well, one became the biggest wrestler in the industry, as you say often.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, true.
That takes us on to Rampage, and do you have the Rampage notes, or do I need to pull up Rampage notes?
I can start with it. Okay. They started with Konosuke Takeshita.
Oh man,
and Eddie Kingston.
So
yeah,
lots of chops, lots of forearms, lots of German suplexes, a pinch of rope running from Takeshita because Eddie Kingston ain't here to run the ropes. But this was a lot of fun. I thought this match was one of the better matches in AEW this year. Probably putting that 4 1/3 range.
Yeah. I gotta say, man, Takeshita has walked in here in a handful of matches, and got over, I think, and they announced John Moxley versus Konosuke Takeshita for Fyter Fest this week in a world title eliminator match. If Takeshita wins, he gets a shot at the championship. A lot of people are...
What happens if he loses?
He gets fucked.
Okay.
Yep. So a lot of people are banging a drum and want to see this guy win now. I credit that to Konosuke Takeshita being as great as he is, to walk in with minimal profile in the country and exposure. This is not like it's Kazuchika Okada coming over here or something like that. Walking in a handful of matches, some we're talking Jay Lethal, Hangman Page, now this Eddie Kingston match. People are almost living and dying with this man. I think my boy Aaron Aaron Rotowski had a great point with him. They are giving him a push very similar to the ones that they gave Jungle Boy and Darby to turn them into somebodies. This guy is in the argument for the best wrestler in the company, humbly, that's just there. But take it aside, obviously, I think he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. And, if you were talking about best guys in the world, I think he's in that conversation. I think they are intentionally mixing him in with top people like Hangman, like Kingston, like Moxley now. And it's going to be, this is all designed to make you want to see him win. And the big win is coming for him. I revealed in a group chat what I think that big win is. I'll wait for the show. I'll wait a little bit closer to let you guys know what I think it is. But he's incredible. Just flat out, he's the answer that New Japan wishes it had.
I don't necessarily disagree, especially after their business strategy meeting for this year, and they were like, yeah, our roster's too old, we have to make a youth movement, which is interesting because it's every wrestling promotion that makes a lot of money does this except for one. Well, take that back, they just made Theory the Money in the Bank winner, so there is some concessions being made and they need to go with the youth movement. Maybe pick someone that's not a sex pest, but whatever. Takesha's great. This is like the this is like the 5th or 6th match I've ever seen of him, and like I've never seen him in a match that wasn't like over 4 stars. He's great. Like the first match I ever saw is the best match I've ever seen him in. I mean, it was a match when he's in there with 3 other guys that are about as good as he is, or or at least on the level. So it was a super match. But like he's great, and like it's funny to see like. We often tell like people, because don't get me wrong, like we don't see like everybody, but we see a good number of people around the world, or in Japan at least, and we're just like, outside of just this New Japan thing, there's also a lot of good fucking wrestlers. Outside the Stardom thing, there's still a lot of good fucking wrestlers, and it's like, I don't know if they think we're blowing smoke or whatever else. And I'm not taking this thing as like, us saying like tooting our horns. Like anyone that would have seen this person would have known immediately like, oh, that person's special. But like when we talk about certain people, I think maybe it's because there's so many names, you kind of gets like, okay, it can't be all these people. It's like, he's one of the ones like, he's not just like the rest of them. He's like elite amongst the ones we think are just even good over there. So, I'm not surprised in the slightest that he's doing this, especially the way they implemented him. And quite frankly, like, the way that they're doing this with him that let him have these kind of matches, and then like the way he's kind of touring the indies at places like Deadlock or
PWG,
right,
Garden State, fucking West Coast Pro, GCW. I think he's been in. He's in North Carolina. He's going to do Terminus shortly, so he's making the rounds. Yeah, so like someone like him doing this, it's like I enjoy this for the fact that like I always think there's so much talent, and I feel like every 2-3 weeks I'm finding out or seeing somebody else. I'm like, holy shit, this person's good too. Right? It's almost overwhelming in a way. And it's like, you kind of just, I would like to see some of these people be able to mix it up and wrestle people outside of their normal ecosystem. Like, I like the, for lack of a word, fantasy booking or dream match element of indie wrestling. And to see someone like him over here for 6 months and with time on his hands, like that could, like, he could do a lot of damage, right? And like, help make some more names on this American side, and then therefore lead to them coming over to a DDT or, a Noah or whatever else by blowing up on the radar. Like the idea that Ninja Max and Noah is fucking wild. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think that shit's cool. So like, I would like to see like all these people be able to, at some point be able to do something with each other, because like there's so much talent and like, putting all that shit together, like, that is the reason why AEW kind of exists, but, like, to see some of that kind of spirit and energy, even outside of AEW, is also really cool, too. So, like, I'm interested in this, and, like, I'm really happy that he's been able to do this, and like, he's going out here and he's lighting up the indies, and, like, they just had the She Won in Pro Wrestling Eve, and, like, Takumi Iroha was there, or whatever else, and it's like, I can't wait till Takumi ends up on fucking AEW. You know what's gonna happen, Rich? You know what's gonna fucking happen, man.
So like I'm
gonna be uncontrollable today. Takumi Iroha comes out on Dynamite.
Yeah, like so for me, and I'm like, wait a second, what is this? Like the Randy Savage music with the guitar? What the fuck is going on? And like, why does this lady have this haircut? And what is up with this the suit or the full body suit and all this other stuff? And then them kicks don't come off, and she's gonna hit a swanton and all the other shit, and people will be like, oh, she's way better than anybody we got over here. Like, and then it's gonna go happen here. And then like, same thing with the Jungle Kiona. We'll get to it, I guess, later. But like, Jungle is going to tour in America. And she has a couple shows already booked, or a couple dates already booked. Like, she has 2 matches in Deadlock Pro and 1 match in West Coast Pro. So like, bring it on. Like, I want to see other people tour. I want to see Oscar Vinny over here too. There's tons of great fucking wrestlers all around the world. I want to see them all like be able to come through in America or whatever else, and like be able to, use AEW or whatever else to like be able to establish themselves and make a name for themselves with a big match and all that kind of thing. And like, that's what he's doing. It's cool. It's cool as hell.
Yeah.
And maybe he likes it here. Maybe he says, you know what, I want to fucking stay longer. That'd be fucking cool too.
Like the plans for him were to be over here for a year. So who knows? You know, maybe he wants to stay. Like, you know, in DDT, from what I'm led to believe, he done it all over there. So like,
how many times has he been as their champion?
5.
Because the top title is the KOD, is not the Universal title, right? Can't remember.
Right. KOD.
Yeah.
5-time champion. So like
27, right?
Yes, I think he's 27. Yeah. So if he's been around, like I would already call like his excursion a success. Like people like have compared this to like, you know, hey, remember how TNA fucked Okada up, you know, when they had him or whatever, and they didn't like let him do shit. Like I feel like they've already they've blown it out the water with Takeshita, and I don't think necessarily getting caught up on him winning and losing is like the thing to get like caught up on here. It's like, what kind of connection is he making with the crowd? Is he like kind of rising up the ranks? Even in debut, is he impressive? And does he look out of place? He does not.
Yeah.
So, and it's not like he's talking him into the building or anything. It's like, this man is working.
Right. And that's the thing of like, once the bell rings, that shit nothing matters except for the match. But like, as far as the American aspect of pro wrestling, where it's promos and program building in that particular, you know, way that we're familiar with, is distinct to, you know, Western wrestling, and is not the way they do it in Japan. Like that is the real crux of all of this. As far as like people's, you know, enjoyment or lack thereof of him. But like once that bell rings, like I there's no complaints to be had. Ain't no complaints to be had. So yeah, and maybe he finds like, you know, that kind of, you know, the new challenge of, you know, trying to figure out a storyline or storytelling in America through, you know, promo and you know, mean talking to each other. Like maybe he finds it interesting in a way, or more challenging in a way than like what he's already, you know, effectively already conquered. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how that goes. But either way, like he's 26, 27, barring any type of devastating injury, which there might be a blown wheel or something like that, given his age. But like he could keep coming back for another decade. Coming in and out for another decade. And he comes out and people pop and be like, this is our Muda. This is our Nakamura.
Great point. I look forward to seeing, like, you know, what he gets into when he's able to, you know, connect with a storyline, when he's able to, you know, get his merch rolling in the big way. And you know, this is a success. Like, and I guess that ties into,
in a way, also because of the young boy thing and like or whatever else, a number of factions that are in AEW. Like he's kind of like almost like, remember how Lady C, it took her a year before she ended up in Queen's Quest. It's like, she's just like, he's just around like there for matches, whatever else, and eventually like he'll settle in with like and you know, and grow roots with somewhere, and then like you'll have that connection with, you know, a faction eventually. Like it's only a matter of time before he finds friends in AEW.
Yep, that'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah, it really is interesting to see where he ends up going, because like whoever he is with is getting a blue chipper. It'd be almost fucking unfair if he ends up in BCC or the Elite. Like wherever he ends up, like damn, bro, like you just added somebody that might be your best wrestler.
So we got Jonathan Gresham and Lee Moriarty taking on Khan and Toa Leone of the Tully Blanchard Enterprises group. This was basically Toa Leone came from AEW Dark. Khan is a former Ring of Honor wrestler. I believe he was in Shane Taylor Promotions. Of course, Moriarty came up.
Why do you think that?
No, I just remember him being associated with them.
Okay, that Shane Taylor shit, like basically, like everyone is black is that bitch. I thought that's what you were saying. Like
nah,
he probably was in that shit. I don't know. I'm just gonna take a good guess. Okay.
Nah,
who was in?
Everybody but Kenny.
Who was in Hurt Business? I don't know. Kofi Kingston, Big E.
Like who was in Shane Taylor promotion shit? Everybody but Kenny King, bitch. Like, so they do this match. Khan and Toa are solid. They're taking on Lee, fucking him up. Gresham's on the apron, getting distracted.
Yeah.
Left and right, and all of a sudden, he's going to tag, and then all of a sudden, he jumps off the apron and is like, "I got you," and I can boo Jonathan Gresham out loud now, openly, freely, like Shawn Michaels said he wanted to live his life.
So, you proud of this?
Oh, 100%.
No, the Furry is like, look, I used to hate this dude, and now I actually have an excuse to actually hate him. You proud of this? You proud of yourself? This man put up double thumbs up.
So, he they put him, they turn him heel. He's with Tully and Khan and Toa Leone. They are Tully Blanchard Enterprises. He's done these interviews where I didn't think he came off particularly like charismatic or anything. So it was like, all right, Tully can talk for him. He can stick to what he knows best, which is the wrestling. I didn't think he was like particularly engaging as a babyface. I don't know if they didn't take enough time to really find that out. But just in some of the interviews, like he comes off as very lame as compared to like Samoa Joe's ROH TV champion. They have just millions of great talkers everywhere in AEW. And then when you see someone that doesn't have it, it's more clear. I feel like verbally, I think he will be like, I don't personally, I'm not a fan. I don't really get excited by the guy. I think he's been carried in some of his more recent big matches, like the Bandito match. I thought Bandito was, going to come down with an injured back or something, but, I don't know who he faces. He turns on Lee Moriarty. They're doing a match for the ROH title at one of the Fighter Fest stuff, and I assume he'll retain. But then I don't know if he's going to face Claudio Castagnoli or if it's somebody else completely off the map I'm not thinking of. What do you think of this turn for Gresham?
I don't know the landscape of like the title picture in Ring of Honor to speak on like what it sets up or what it could set up. So I'm just not even going to go there. But like I don't know. Like as far as the match between him and Moriarty, like I want to see it because like I feel like both of their styles match each other. As far as like them wanting to do mat and ground based submission type of wrestling or whatever else in their wrestling. So let me just see how that goes. But yeah, as far as the story in the match and the execution, I thought it was very good because like, doing the first time when, Moriarty needed to tag out because he was getting worn out, like, Tully, like, just, gets Gresham's attention, and I'm like, what the hell just happened? Is it okay? So like he'll get in eventually later, and this is like whatever. And then it finally happened. It was like, oh, it was a ruse all along, and this was well done. This is very well done. It was like, of course it's well done. This is tag team wrestling with fucking Tully Blanchard right there. Of course it's gonna be well done. What was I thinking? Of course. So yeah. It was as far as the angle and all that kind of stuff, like it was a thumbs up for me. Yeah.
Serena and Mercedes.
Oh, well, I'll take it back. There's one thing I didn't like. After it became apparent that he was turning heel on him, I would have liked for Moriarty to have not gotten beat because he's about to get a title match. I don't like challengers getting beat after the title challenger, especially for the top title, right? So I would have liked for him to have like somehow thwarted thwarted them and like got a roll up win off of, a victory roll or some shit like that, and then, skate out the back door, or if you need to get the, because the getting the faction over at this point in time was a bigger thing, was like, all right, after he gets the win, put the boots to him and have, Gresham hold the title over top of him. But like, you got to give Moriarty something. Otherwise, what's the point of even doing the match?
Yeah. He got an interview after. They also interviewed Gresham. And they basically just kind of laid out their intentions. Yeah. And we had Serena Deeb and Mercedes Martinez almost do an identical angle of tag team breakup like 10 minutes later. They beat the shit out of Kayla Sparks and Christina Marie, who I've never seen. These are two...
You have to say it like that.
Women they found on the street.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
So they basically break down in the post match, and Deeb gets the advantage on Mercedes at the end, locks her in the Serenity Lock, and they are set for the ROH Women's World Title. So
good friends, better enemies.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
I think it'll be good.
Then we got Orange Cassidy and Tony Nese. This match was excellent. Excellente. When I talk about Orange Cassidy being like the TV worker, this is a perfect example. I think he's bigger than ever at this point.
You think he's more over than before?
More over than he's ever been. And I think credibly as a wrestler, I think people are really picking up on him. The theme song's gonna work, and the overall vibe for him, he just understands it. And Tony Nese, he can play on my team any day. I've been high on Tony Nese for a lot of years. Yes, and this is a perfect.
And this, even as his gear has gotten worse, when it used to be great.
True, but this is the perfect use for him. This was excellent. Lots of creative things. Smart Mark Sterling adding. He's just excellent. I gotta say on the record, I love Smart Mark Sterling. He's a fucking clown. He'll show ass. This whole thing's doing with the Swerve thing is it keeps Swerve's name out there, so I like it. And, it's just smart. He's a great shitbag. He's an awesome talker. I don't ever need to see him have full matches or anything, but come out here and do this shit. Yes, yeah, he doesn't need to be booked to face Jon Moxley on a Dynamite. He doesn't need to do that.
Say that for the scalpel match.
Yeah, but yeah, this whole thing was excellent. And this went about 15 minutes. I loved it.
Yeah, the match is great. I gotta say, by the time we got to Rampage, my mind was cooked. And I barely remember that the match even happened. I just remember liking it, but I can't tell you what I have ready for. Dude, I was thinking about this. I'm gonna have to try to go through a bunch of Dynamites in Rampage that I have listed that I have to go back through that I didn't give ratings on. It's gonna take me forever to try to go through, when we get to the year end stuff, and I already regret the decisions I've made so far this year, and I'm gonna have to find a way out and help. Just help. I'm fucked. But yeah, it was, I did enjoy the match a lot. Yeah.
Sam had a comment. He said, all those 205 Live guys were excellent TV wrestlers and learned how to engage bored, uninterested audiences after SmackDown finished. Put them in front of an engaged crowd and they pop.
So you're saying that working on a Rampage in the third hour is a lot easier than working on a SmackDown or a Raw in either the fourth or the third hour? I'd agree. Yeah.
Indeed. But James, we've got some stuff to get to, so it's time to hit the music.
Okay, Rich, so where would you like to start?
World Wondering Stardom.
Okay, so they had 2 shows this weekend. The first show was on a Friday. It was a New Blood show. New Blood. Stardom has 3 brands now. We'll get to their third brand in a second. But the second brand is New Blood. It is basically like a young girl / future pay-per-view big match type of thing. Like, what they do is they use a lot of the under 26 or less than 4 years of experience wrestlers on the Stardom roster, and they also bring in a number of women from the Joshi scene that fit that same criteria, and they book matches and shows to showcase them wrestling singles matches or tag matches where they're not where they have to have more responsibility, and it's not like they have to rely on a Tam Nakano, a Mayu, a Shuri, Julia to pull them through. They're all on their own, and it's mostly low 3-star wrestling. It's fun, and also during the case of these let's say the roster, if you will, because it's a bit of a limited roster, and they use people a lot of the same people over and over again. You'll see these matches where they'll be tagging together on one show, and then 2 shows later they're across from each other. So for example, the first New Blood show, it was Starlight Kid versus a Futures tag champion in Diana named Umasaki. I can't remember her first name. I can remember Sakari or Haruka. But Umasaki is now in New Blood 3 after wrestling against Starlight Kid in New Blood 1 and 2, is now with the young OED squad in New Blood 3. And it's the awkwardness of them hey, are you with us, or are you with OED, or are you not with OED? And then Rina and Roaka are they don't fuck with her, but Kid, because she is a emotional terrorist, is nah, she's cool. She's with us. She's with us now. But that was kind of the spirit throughout the show. So the opener of this particular card, and we're not going to spend too much time on this, and I really mean it this time. I'm going to try to go through this super fast. I'm not going to say that and then spend 10 minutes on this show, but I'm not going to say but. I'm just going to go through this. The opening match is Yuri versus Mai Sakurai. Yuri is from Ganbar Pro. It is in Wrestle Universe, so you can see that on Wrestle Universe. Sometimes on big shows, they'll bring in Ganbar wrestlers to Tokyo Joshi Pro shows. But anyway, match was just average. Mai ends up beating Yuri with a sit-out gourd buster. Second match was Ami versus Nanami. Nanami has been on... She's been on from the beginning, the first New Blood show. She is from Diana. She's in there with Ami, and I did not realize that Nanami is a pretty big wrestler. She, Ami is 5'7" ish, and Nanami is she's 5'5". So eventually, Ami ends up winning by bullying her around, chopping her to death, ends up winning with a modified torture rack. I gave this 2 1/4. Then the show gets better from here. Then you get the Stars B team. You get Hanan, Ida, and Kogo versus Hanan's last recent defense, Tomoka Inaba, her tag partner Aoi, and Misa Kagura, all 3 from Just Tap Out. So, Rich, you saw this match or no?
No, I didn't see this one.
Okay, so Misa, she fancies herself to be some type of animal avatar as a wrestler. I can't remember which one it was, but she wanted to face the gorilla, which is Ida. So the match starts, and she roars at Ida. Ida immediately roars back, and the crowd pops, and they're waiting for it. Eventually they get in the ring, and like Ida lights her up with chops and is back and forth, and Ida's like at the, I think he called her after the match she had with Mirai like a dumb jock wrestler. This was the dumbest and jockiest that she's ever been that I can recall seeing, and like I had a blast watching. It was funny as hell, but ultimately this was about like the story of Hannon and like the two, Aoi and Tomoka, like two people that really are going for the future Stardom title. So by the end, Hannah ends up putting away the third Misa with a Regalplex. And eventually, like, there will be an Aoi versus Hannon match for the Futures belt. So then you get to the best match on the card.
I did see this.
Mirai versus Suzu Suzuki. Now, that is a thing when you think of the New Blood stuff. Is like, if they wanted to, they could just put Starlight Kid. And it's funny, Azumi's never done one of these. And it's, you know, I guess she's vet status. She knows how to be, but the same thing, like, so was Starlight Kid. Like, I'm a 5-year vet. I don't have to do this shit either, but she's on it, whatever. But if they wanted to, they could do Starlight Kid and Azumi and Utami versus whoever the fuck they wanted to. If they want to. That's not how they're doing this. They're just doing fun matches or whatever else. But this is the match where it's like, this is the first time they've said, let's put two of the best, like, under 24 women's wrestlers in the world in the ring together and let them do what they want to do. And, you know, Suzu, she's so fucking good. And she wants to do this hardcore shit. She was in Mirai. So in Mirai, like, even though she's like 140 and just brolic and all this kind of shit, it like, she's really, really good at work from underneath. And they told this story of like 5'1", 5'0" Suzu, like, you know, using the vertical ramp. I think it was a body slam. Can't remember what it was, but slams Mirai on the horizontal ramp, and then from there, Mirai's fighting from underneath, and then she eventually catches up, and then it's back and forth, and then like they're going at it for like the last like 5 minutes of this match, and then like, you know, at the end, like Mirai goes gets Suzu up, and the bell rings. Is a 15-minute time limit draw, but the match was great. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I enjoyed the hell out of this match, and they're in the same block in the Grand Prix, and I can't wait for the rematch.
This was excellent. Just beat the fuck out of each other style wrestling. Mirai putting her on the ground and just fucking you know, just fucking killing her.
I've had enough. You have beat my ass.
I love it. Yeah. Oh my God. This was like right up my alley. If you guys haven't watched this match, it's available for free. Like just like all this new blood stuff is. Please go out of your way and see. If y'all like seeing people like my man in the comments on Lethero Negro, he says Suzu got that dog in her. She used to be wrestling everywhere. This is 2 wrestlers with that dog in them. So they went nuts. I love this. Yeah, and
like the thing about it is like Suzu is either 19 or 20. Can't remember. Mirai's like 22, 23.
Suzu is 19. I didn't know that.
Yes, that's right. She's a little bit older than Azumi. Yeah. I can't remember. Mirai's either 22 or 23. Can't remember. But it's just like there's so much talent around, like just in this scene. So like they're gonna have another rematch later in the Grand Prix. It's gonna be great. As well, I'm assuming. And then we get the semi-main event of this. Ram Kaichu versus Waka Tsukiyama, and this is one of, you know how I normally say this is one of the best matches of the year, one of the better matches of the year, and I use that distinguish between like if I'm thinking like 4.5 or higher or below, or 4 to 4.5. Okay, so like, what's the word that is not the worst, but one of the, let's say the worst, because lack of a better word. This is one of the worst matches of the year. This match sucked, bitch.
I did not see this match.
Oh my God.
The only thing I came here to talk about is Waka Tsukiyama in blackface.
Yeah, so Waka Tsukiyama is in blackface, and her excuse, or what I imagine what her excuse would be, is Ram Kaicho wears white face paint with black eyes covering her eyes. So because Ram's been such a nemesis and a shit head to Waka in the two press conferences to build up New Blood 3 by like dropping powdering her, hitting her with powder twice. She shows up with the inverse of that, and the inverse of that is blackface. Like, if you have a white face with black eyes paint, then the inverse of that is a black face with white eye paint. She's in blackface. I'm not giving no excuses, no none of that. They know blackface isn't acceptable in parts of Japan. I don't know what parts of Japan Waka's from, but
she came out here looking like Drake.
She was out there looking like Drake in that in the Story of Adidon cover. Yeah. Well, it's like Waka wasn't smiling, and then also like you look at it, it's like I also made the joke to Rich, like if you draw you pull it up and put it on the screen, Rich. Like if you pull it up.
Hold on, man. Let's see.
It was in the Stardom one, I think.
Yep, I will pull it up.
Yeah, let me know when you put it on the screen for the people on the Twitch.
It is on the way.
All right. So, like, if you
it is on the screen.
So when you look at it, you're like, yo, Waka, like all she needs is an N, a W, and an O, and she looks like NWO Muda. and then I took the picture, and then I literally drew the N, the W, and the O on Waka, just so you know, I can show the people that I wasn't tripping. Like it really looks like that. So anyway, man, they have the match, and like it's this comedy match, and it's bad comedy, and it's crummy wrestling. And at the end, after Waka at the first press conference catches powder in the face, and then at the second one catches powder in the face after Ram apologized and said that I bought you something nice to make amends for the first time I powdered you in the face, and it ended up being more fucking powder. What do you think happened in the end of this match, Rich? To end this match,
more powder.
Exactly. Waka got hit with powder for the third goddamn time. She learned nothing. She may as well be a character in Seinfeld. So.
Jesus.
Yeah, so she ends up catching the powder right after Waka, or getting a flash crucifix pin right after Ram hit her with the powder and caught the L. I ended up giving this match 0.3 quarter stars. And you know that means how bad this match is. But I give it myself 1. Yeah, so
no more blackface Waka.
Yeah, cut that out. And then the next day she goes out there and has the best match of her career. Go fucking figure. So I gotta redeem myself after this bullshit. So match after that you end up getting as I mentioned, young OED plus Haruka Umasaki versus Mina Unagi of Cosmic Angels plus 2 of colors. So Yuko Sakurai and Rina Amakari. So as I mentioned, in New Blood 2, Mina Unagi tagged with Haruka Umasaki to face off against Oedo Tai and Starlight Kid, and Haruka Umasaki and Starlight Kid seem to be at odds. I think they also wrestled each other on the 60th anniversary show for Corcoran Hall. I can't remember. I'd have to actually have to watch that show to be able to remember that such a thing. I just remembered their names all being together. So anyway, Haruka is there with young OED. Kid is playing nice. The other two, Rina and Roaka, aren't. And hijinks ensue as far as their team dynamic at the time. But ultimately, by the end, Kid ends up putting Yuko Sakurai in the Tiger Leg Destroyer, the leg trap or leg choke stretch muffler, and getting the win. I ended up giving this match 3 1/4. And I believe at the end of this match, Kid basically extends the offer to Haruka to say, hey, you can be a New Blood member of Oedo Tai. So, like, you can tag with us, but only in Oedo Tai, and everything else, like, we don't give a fuck about what you do. We don't give a fuck about none of that outside of New Blood. Yeah, also,
that's like you can be an NWO Japan member. to bring that back.
Yeah. Also further bring it back. So Waka, after catching that powder, I forgot about this in the post match. Waka, after catching that powder a third time like a damn dummy, grabs the mic as Ram's walking up the ramp and says, "Hey, you fucking cheated." It was like, well, yeah, I'm evil. Waka says she wants a tag match this time, and turns out that Rena from Oedo Tai is going to tag with Ram. So like they are like the New Blood Young OED coalition is growing and spreading. They're spreading their roots of evil out into the Joshi sphere by tagging with Ram Takaicho from the 666 promotion, and also adding in Haruka. So now that I guess it's like 5 of them now for New Blood. And we will figure out whoever Waka's tag team partner is for New Blood for. Who knows who it is? But then you get the main event: Julia versus Miyu Amasaki, and Julia just beats the shit out of Amasaki and then gives her a glorious driver after probably going, I don't know, less than 10 minutes. But just then selling none of her shit, just beat the shit out of her, and then gave her glorious driver, put out her mercy eventually after beating her to where she couldn't even get a comeback, and just beats her, and then hugs her and says, "You're gonna be good someday, kid," or some shit like that. From I can tell from the body language, and I was like, "How will you know? You just fucking ate her up and whatever." Everybody comes back out. They sign off a New Blood, sign off a New Blood 4, and then like that was the end of it. And I was like, why even bring Julia to this? She's gonna do this. Like, you want me to wrestle a person in like their 12th match? Okay, how about I just beat the shit out of them and then in the main event for like 12 minutes and then leave? Okay, you okay with that, Rossi? Okay, cool. We're out of here. The match, this match may have been like 3 stars. I don't know, but whatever. It wasn't like it was a bad match, but it was like, she gave this woman nothing. Nothing.
Those be the breaks.
Yeah. And I know I said that I was going to go like a few minutes and whatever else, but like I forgot how much stuff I actually remember from this. I was going to go down the report, but then I always remember stuff. So it happens. The actual main event. The actual pay-per-view.
Yeah.
MidSummer Champions 2022. First match is Hanan versus Waka in a Futures title match.
Dog, Waka came out the blocks like ready for blood. Like,
yeah.
Smelling blood in the water, and I thought it was time. It was not. And if you guys listened to the show last week, I said we would open up One Nation Radio with the celebration of Waka Tsukiyama getting the win and showing what true winning looks like. But it was not to be.
Bro, I knew that Waka had no chance, and they still managed to get 2 near falls in this fucking match. Where I was like, I leaned forward in the chair like, no, and then like, Hanan has, I guess she added this to her game, the kick at 2.999, and like the crowd, still a clap crowd, they audibly, gasped at the thought that Waka was going to pull off this upset twice. This is a really good fucking match. Like, this match might be 3.5 fucking stars.
I wouldn't argue.
I couldn't fucking believe this match. Like, I could not believe that this was Waka Tsukiyama. We're talking about a singles match in the opener doing this. And like, hey man, I don't, Hanan's 17. Like, I don't think she's nearly as good as Starlight Kid or Azumi were when they were that age. But that don't mean Hanan ain't gonna be fucking great. She's gonna be great too. And this match is like kind of like just assured it to me, like she's gonna be very fucking good at the worst. And like, who knows if she gets past like the young girl judo work rate or work style thing and like gets her own like offense, but like just as like a young lion wrestler, she's already having very good matches. So yeah, we can move on from there. Hanan wins. I forgot.
It's God's Eye against Queen's Quest, Ami and Mirai taking on Miyu, Amasaki, and Utami.
Yeah,
and man. Miyu Amasaki kept getting left out on that island. Like, and it was bad news for her every time. Like she kept getting switched, like in
This
the
match,
space.
Yeah, this match was basically like Amasaki started. They wore her ass out, and then eventually built a hot tag to Utami. Utami fights through a rotation of both Mirai and Ami, and then she had to tag out because she was so desperate. And like it was almost like the same logic of like those AEW triangles matches where like someone gets their ass whooped and they're like get so desperate that like their partner's not in the corner, so they eventually just have to tag out the third party because they're so desperate to try to survive. Like Utami tagged out because she's like, I gotta just fucking survive somehow. And when she made that tag out, she never was able to legally get back in the ring. That was all they wrote for that. Utami fought violently against those two, but like the second bad sisters in this promotion, they ain't nothing to play with. And Mirai ends up beating Amasaki with a Miramare shock. And I thought this was a good match. I didn't think this match was somehow as good as the Waka match in the opener, but it was still good. I ended up giving it a 3 flat. So Mirai and Ami now, like their first, I think they tagged a couple of times before, but like they had their defense or their challenge against Hazuki and Kaguma, and they went to a 30-minute draw. Then on this pay-per-view, they have one, and now on the 27th the 24th pay-per-view on the 24th, they, not the 24th of the year, even though it's close, like the 24th pay-per-view in July, they get their rematch against FWC, and I think they're going to win. I think they're going to take it off of them. So yeah, I'm trying to think. After Hannon won, did she have a challenger?
I can't remember.
Same here. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember.
If y'all remember, like, let us know in the comments. I can't remember. But, so then we end up getting Stars versus Oedo Tai, Mayu, Hazuki, Kaguma, and Ida versus Saki, Death, Roaka, and Rina. And this match is a very good match, but you know at the same time that, like, they're wrestling like it's a third match in the card. Isn't like if this was the third match from the top, they wrestle at totally different gear. But let's not talk about the part. Let's talk about the part when they start the beginning with Kaguma and Death, and they have a bear/clown off, and it was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, some people may watch Stardom, to see incredible work rate. I watched to see, Delph Yamasan. I watched to see the Bear Kaguma meet in the middle of the ring. The immovable force meets the immovable object, whatever the fuck that phrase is.
Unstoppable force, immovable object.
Correct, and what I saw was a great meeting of equals of talent, like so converging in a once in a lifetime moment that I'll always remember where I was when I saw it. I saw these two, square off, and I could just tell something was different about the feel in the arena when Kaguma raised her fist and put them on her head like she was Darius Miles and Quentin Richardson, then lead to the side. It just felt different when Fukin Death, started, putting the horns up behind her head, and I just knew I was watching just all time magic. When I was seeing this, and I recorded a minute on my phone, I would cherish for the rest of my days, and just knowing that just great times were had here, and this is truly the pinnacle of professional wrestling.
This is a too serious promotion, Rich. This is a too serious promotion. Like a motherfucking blackface guy who went powder on the show before. But this is a serious promotion. Okay, whatever, man. Whatever you say. But yeah, I can't remember much of this match. It was more in and out. There was not many dives because, like I mentioned, it's like third match on the card on pay-per-view. But like, this was really good. This is really good wrestling. At the end though, they end up with Ida in there with Rina, and I figured, okay, so that means like Rina's a weak link in this match. When you think about it from no Oedo type perspective, so I think she's gonna get pinned by Ida or whatever else. Because it's SWA champion Mayu is FWC, the tag team champion, is Ida, who, you know, just won. I think she beat Rina to get into the Grand Prix. So Rina ends up stopping her, end up getting to the top rope and hitting the double knee drop off the top rope, which is always brutal every time she does it. I don't know how she doesn't fuck someone up, but she's just been doing it like for a couple months now, ever since her challenge against Hannon, and kicks out, and then Rina goes up and hits her with the Noshigami and gets the W. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, does that mean oh, that's what it was. There was no one came out for Hannon. So I assumed that, like, Rina was going to call a shot eventually, like, on the Road 2 shows to get another title shot against Hannon for the future belt. But she actually called her shot later in the show for a different belt. We'll get back to it in a second. So, next match, Azumi, high-speed champion, defends it against Momo Kogo. And, you know, I forgot to preview the show last week, like, live, so I did it in post, and I said, like, I think that, like, given the stuff she's done, you know, since she got the title shot, and some of the stuff you see, like, during the matches, the qualifying Grand Prix stuff, that I think Kogo is going to come out here in a high-speed situation, and she's going to have, like, you know, a match that show and prove her worth. And goddamn, she did. There was one little botch at the beginning of the opening salvo, and after that, like, everything was smooth as butter. And, like, I know that a lot of people know how good Azumi is. I want to know why Azumi won't get votes for best technical wrestler in the Observer next year, or for this year's award. Why she wouldn't get votes for it? At least votes. Not saying she finished in the top 5 or place. Why she wouldn't get votes for it?
I knew that Azumi was on fire in this match when she was doing kip-ups outside the ring. Momo Kogo, as far as her, this is, I think, the best that I've seen of her. It was. This was like, it still felt like this was unnatural for her.
Yes.
So I think it was admirable to see her hang in the style as much as she did. And there aren't enough words to describe what Azumi does. Like,
but here's also the thing, right? Is it that she was not wrestling the style or able to keep up with the style, or was she just not able to keep up with Azumi's style? Because there's high speed and then there's Azumi's high speed, and that's the thing that makes her special. Like, she's a whole nother level above, like, the normal pacing for a high speed match outside of, like, a Natsuki Tayo that I've ever seen.
And like, I didn't really think much of Momo Kogo before, so it was just like, oh, okay, like, she's actually solid. Like, right. But it was like, I don't expect you to actually keep up with Azumi. It was like, oh, you did the best you could, essentially, here. Yeah.
So, like, in the middle of this match, like, you know, Azumi goes to work on her arm, and Kogo has to fight from underneath throughout this match, and she does, you know, some of her new stuff to kind of keep on balance. Like, a big near fall was her hitting, like, what I can only describe as, like, a sunset flip jump over into a crucifix bomb. That was awesome. That got, like, a 2.9 count on Azumi. And then, like, from there, Azumi goes back to work on the arm. There's a bunch of 619 type stuff, variations. There's a 619 that takes Azumi off of the top rope. There's like a tornado DDT 619 variation that Momo Kogo's been using for like a couple weeks or like a month or whatever. And, like, you see all this stuff she's, like, added since the Grand Prix qualifying thing. And this was, like, all leading up to, like, I need to get myself some, like, new stuff for this high speed match with Azumi, because this is, like, the biggest match of my career. And Azumi is just basically, you know, as I mentioned, like, she's wrestling at a slower pace than what she would if she was wrestling Starlight Kid, but she's still having this high speed match. It's very entertaining, very fun, and, like, damn near great. And, like, she's now doing this with different opponents. It's not the usual suspects of, like, Natsupoi, Kid, and, you know, and Kaguma. And it's like, she's going to like breathe new life to the division by wrestling a whole bunch of new opponents with this or whatever else until it's her time, for the, you know, while she's biding time with this. But, like, now that she's going to be in there in the Grand Prix, like she's going to go off again. She's going to come out here and challenge for 4 stars in 7 minutes like she did last year again. And it's going to be like, same thing. How much fucking longer do we need to wait? How much longer we have to fucking wait before we start, like, having her and kid, like, at the top of this card? And obviously it's a couple years off still, but it's like,
enjoy the ride. Enjoy the rides.
I understand it. I'm getting impatient. It's not the part of like them being on top as much as it is. I want them to get like 15 minutes. I just want to get 15 minutes. If you want to give them 15 minutes in the third match, fine. Give them 15 minutes in the third match. They ain't got to be at the top. Just give them in the 13 minutes in the first 3 matches. Please. Please. You don't need to handicap them. You don't need, or not handicap them. You don't need to put a governor on how good they can be. They can go out here and like carry these undercards. Whatever. They already do that, whatever. But, yeah, this match was great, and, like, Azumi just, like, warped her into a million different, like, shapes of a pretzel before eventually beating her with numero uno and got to win. Another great match. I gave this 3 3/4. I loved it. And was impressed by Kogo. I was more impressed by Azumi, like, being able to accommodate the part where, like, Momo Kogo is not there yet. She'll probably get there, but, like, she can show some flashes of things she can do. And all it takes is someone that can mold a match around it, and Azumi put that together with her. So I was impressed. So almost immediately after Kogo taps out, all of a sudden they go to this camera angle. I was like, that's odd. And the next thing you know, like Azumi's still like recovering from the match. She's on the ground. The next thing you know, in comes from the left part of the screen onto Azumi's chest is Rina. She basically like, I'm trying to figure out how this is laid out. Like, what did she basically like time like to run in from looking at a monitor, or was she already there like in the background and then she's like, oh, that's the finish. Let me start climbing now, or did she was a sprint, or how did this go? I want to see the logistics of her all of a sudden like ding 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 ding, your winner, Azum, crash.
Yep.
It was great.
She had to make sure she was first to challenge, because if she didn't make it out there first, somebody else may have got the shot.
Maybe. I mean, that's how Nagi sees it. That's how Nagi sees it. Yeah. Like, the only thing that stops you from being the person to challenge is if you get there first, brother. But, yeah, so...
Rena's calling Azumi an old hag,
yes,
and a grandma,
yes,
and all this stuff, and how the tables will turn. The game has been switched on some ludicrous shit for Azumi.
Yeah, 3 years or 2.5 years comes real fast, don't it?
Amazing.
Comes real fast.
Almost washed. You know.
Like, it was funny because, like, when Azumi was calling, like, Natsumiri an old hag and an old bitch, like, she was 26. Natsu was 26 when Azumi
So basically what you're saying
bitch.
is, like, this is like The Wire, just the kids as they're going further along, like, they have less respect. So,
yes.
like, it's, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's
do it.
All right. So, next match after that is what was originally a 12-person tag turned to a 10-person tag. I'm assuming it had to do with Tekla. Like, I think she's just too injured to be back yet. But Tam, Mina, Unagi, Second Saki, and Hikari versus Julia, Maika, Natsupoi, Himeka, and Mai. So they start the match with Tam and Natsupoi, and they have the beginning of what would be their kind of match. They do their thing, they get out, and then it turns into Julia and Second Saki get in, and like, which one do you think sounds funnier? The Battle of the Tans or the Battle of the Beige? Which one is funnier?
Battle of the Beige.
Battle of the Beige? Okay, because so they both get in, and there's no reason why they be fighting other than who has a better tan. I don't know, but whatever. They start going at it. And then, because the rules of this match was that it was a no tag, kind of like a Lucha rules match, it was a free for all. People can get in and get out. The only thing was like, and it was elimination over the top. So like, the only thing is like, once your ass in there, anyone can throw you out, and like, people are just fighting all around the ring or whatever else. And so like, the folks just on the ring. So that's easier than like, if it were just a tag thing, whatever else. But it was fun.
Sir Sam, the tussle of the tans.
The tussle of the all right, that sounds like some type of like sounds almost like a soccer game almost. The Tussle of the Tans. The Tans sounds like the name of a team. Anyway, wait, isn't there a rugby team called the Tans or the Blacks? Which one is it? Whatever.
I think it was the Black and Tans.
Black and Tans. That's what it is. The Black and Tans. That's right. All right. So, anyway, so in the course of this, you end up getting Himeka and Mina in their match from a couple weeks ago on pay-per-view, and they have their interaction. And eventually, like, they both end up over the top rope. I think Himeka goes to power bomb Mina off of the top, over the top rope onto the floor to die. Mina turns to a Hurricane Rana. They both end up on the apron. Mai Sakurai gets in and drop kicks Mina. Mina is attached to Himeka, so they both go tumbling off to the floor. They're both eliminated. I think it's the first set of eliminations. They give Maika a spot where she eliminates Unagi with a Michinoku driver. Then she eliminates Hikari Shimizu with another one, like immediately after, like back to back, similar fashion to a December pay-per-view when she like eliminated 3 people in a row with back to back Michinoku drivers. And then after that, she ends up eating shit by from Saki? Can't remember. I think it was Saki. So it comes down to the final two each side. It is Tam and Saki versus Julia and Natsupoi. So they end up getting Saki out of there after Tam ends up getting laid out, and Julia and Natsupoi take out Saki. She's eliminated. So it's Tam now in there with her two biggest mortal enemies. So somehow it basically turns to like a hot tag for Tam. She ends up getting, all three of them end up getting outside on the floor after like Tam somehow gets them to mess up, and they both end up over the top rope. Tam hits the ropes, try to knock both of them out. They end up grabbing her and dragging her over. So they're all three on the apron, and Tam's in the middle, and she's out here catching hell from both sides. And at some point, Julia has Tam by the arms, and Natsupoi goes for a super kick. Tam ducks. Natsupoi pulls off the super kick. Tam rolls back into the ring, and as she rolls back into the ring, and Natsupoi and Julia are like, "Oh, I almost hit the super kick." They take a second, and then after that, like Natsupoi just super kicks Julia, and then they zoom into both of their Julia and Natsupoi's face, and it gets dramatic, and like you forget that like Natsupoi is like 26, but she looks like she's like a 13-year-old. And they zoom in on her eyes. She has like the big fucking Disney eyes. You know what I'm talking about? Like you ever seen like how they make like innocent, quote unquote innocent looking characters? They make their eyes bigger to make them look more innocent. Like she has those eyes. Anyway. She ends up grabbing Julia, and she screams out, Tam! Tam is looking around like, what the fuck? And she's like, alright, fine. She gets out on the apron, she points at Julia, I don't know what she said, something, I don't know what she said, I'm assuming it's like, payback's a mother, and she super kicks her, and then Natsupoi Germans to Julia on her fucking a dome piece on the apron, and then Julia, I know she hates Tam's guts right now. You know what she hates more? Fucking elimination matches. She's like 1-49 in them shits. Anyway, Julia gets eliminated, and then Natsupoi rolls out the ring herself off the apron, and Cosmic Angels wins, and everybody in Down Mondo's looking like, holy shit, you turn on us. Why? Why the fuck would you do this? So, Tam and Natsupoi make eyes at each other. They get in the ring. And Natsupoi then addresses Donald Mondo and says, rough translation, stuff like, I felt like I was like the Donna Del Mondo mascot and pet. I'm no one's mascot and pet. And like, there is something, I don't know about that, about her, but there is something about like the pet stuff in Stardom in factions. Like, you have Ida as like Gory-chan, beat your chest, two-dimensional character. You have Death as like Saki Kashima's, pet animal. There is some of that in Stardom. There's not much of it. There is some of that too. That I don't know if people actually. Maybe it's because
Starlight Kid back in Stars.
Yes, in Stars, she's the mascot. Yes. Another example. I never picked up that vibe for Donna Mondo, but she said it. Whatever. Maybe people were saying that domestically as the fan base. I don't know. So, she says, I'm no one's pet, blah, blah, whatever else. I'm my own person. And like, I feel like I reached a plateau in my career with Donna Mondo being the way things are. And I feel like I can do more, revolutionizing Cosmic Angels, with high speed. And like, I just want to, I did what I wanted to do, everything I wanted to do in Donna Mondo, but I want to be with Tam and Cosmic Angels. So Julia comes in, she took it like a G, because like...
Of course, Julia is a G.
She wasn't that like this when, Shuri and Mariah left. She was pissed until like she realized that like she couldn't just say what she wanted to say in front of Shuri, because Shuri, you gotta play mind control with Shuri. But anyway, she was like, look, I can't remember she was basically disappointed, but like, if you want to leave, I can't stop you. I can't force you to be with me. And then they went around to the other not in that way. But then it went around to everybody else. Like Himeka was like really hurt because obviously that's the close person she was with too in Donna Del Mondo. And then, their history in At-Rest Girls before they both ended up eventually in Stardom 2020. Micah was pissed on behalf of Himeka. Was like, I can't believe you did this to Himeka. And like, not even about like our relationship as my Himapoi, but like, this was your ace and like, you just left her like this. She was pissed at her. Mai Sakurai, she was kind of like, I can't really say much because like, I don't want to start this faction hopping shit between these two factions. So I'm going to say that's sad and walk away. And then, Tekla, she was too choked up and crying to say anything. She was just disappointed. And that's one of the things that I just logistically, I thought kind of was a bit of a bummer. Her moving is because like they had just started before she got hurt last month. They had started doing like a Natsupoi Tekla tag team thing that was really fun, and I would love to have seen them wrestle FWC, but so much for that. Maybe in a couple years. But so they all leave. Julia is consoling Tekla as they walk off with the cry face, and like it's funny because like now it's very reminiscent of like when they walked off after Mai ends up leaving for Donna Del Mondo, and like Tam is walking with an inconsolable Waka. Like it's like beat for beat, like the same exact shots. Anyway, so Tam offers her a chance to be in Donna Del Mondo. Natsupoi feels sad. Tam consoles her and says, thank you for everything you've done for me. She's basically like, you threw my biggest op in the mud. I will love you forever for what you've done for me. This shit was fucking hilarious. So, they didn't like celebrate or whatever else. And they talking about like, now there's 9 of us. We are.
It sure looked like they were celebrating when they was flicking up in the ring.
Huh?
They sure looked like they was celebrating when they was flicking up in the ring all together, smiling.
I just said that they turned it around, didn't I? No?
No, like I thought you said they weren't celebrating.
They weren't celebrating at first until they eventually turned it around. I forgot, but I don't know what was said to turn around the mood of the thing. I think they may have just given the mic to Mina. I can't remember, but basically, so from there they reintroduce themselves, and now there's 9 of them. They're as deep as the Wu-Tang, and like. I had a bunch of jokes, but basically, the best one I came up with was, here we go. From the stars of the cosmos, Cosmic Color strikes again. The Mina, the Hikari, Old Dirty Saki, Yuko Sakurai, Unagi the Assessor, Waka, Tam Nakano, and the Natsupoi. they have done it. They have done it. Tam has officially gotten to non. They are officially the what do you want, whatever you want to call them, the Wu-Tang Angels, whatever you want to call them. But they officially.
I know what I want to call them: the Cosmic Devils. That's what they are.
So,
the Cosmic Devils.
So
Julia has to whoop them both. Can I jump in now?
Go ahead.
Julia has to whoop both of their ass. I'm never rooting for Tam and NASA Boy to live happily ever after. Fuck that shit. Like, that shit is whack. Like, all that shit that they did, like, they beat the fuck out of each other 2 weeks ago. She didn't wrestle anything in this match. Like, they were, she didn't show any type of, like, hesitancy, restraint. It's just on a dime. She decides to turn on her. NASA Boy is running from the grind. She is, she looks so pie for this. Like, you got your big win over this woman, and then you want to run right back up underneath her. I'm like, people wanted to bitch about Adam Cole being in the unit with Kenny Omega. Well, how about this shit right here? Like, what the fuck is this? Like,
I can't speak for what happens in other promotions, but what I will say to you is this.
I can't believe I'm rooting for Julia now. I did not imagine
that's the point
this.
of this, though.
Correct. Julia, fuck them up. Like,
this was the point of this. This is the point of this. So, for me, or not for me, but Stardom because they get this shit from Dragon Gate where they do these turns this way, where it's like someone will wrestle an entire whole match, and then the very last second, they'll turn on their partners, and then they'll join the other faction. Like, this happened just in December with Momo and leaving QQ to go to Oedo Tai. I hated that then. I don't like this either. Like, what I like about this is what it sets up. The actual execution of it is stupid, just like the one with Momo was. You wrestle a whole 20 fucking minutes, and then, I changed my mind.
Off the matches from, like, last week we just did, and then, like, I guess I was begrudgingly right when I said I guess they wanted to be together too. Like,
you were right. But the thing is, it's stupid. Like, why go through the whole match if you're gonna just turn?
That, and it's like, y'all just went to fucking war. Like, what's the point of like joining up together? It's like, y'all supposed to, like,
people beat each other up all the time and then being teams in wrestling. That's not the thing. The real thing is, like, you set up a match where the same thing with the Momo and the Momo turn, right? Where it's like, you set up this match to be a blow off for this. The singles thing then lured in because it was so violent or disruptive to both factions that both factions get dragged into it. Like, in this case of Starlight Kid and Momo, it was whoever loses has to join the other's faction. In this, it was like, this is like another Donna Del Mondo Cosmic Angels thing or whatever else, and that's fine. They have this match on pay-per-view, and then, like, there is no payoff of we found out who was the best. Just somebody turn on the other one and we go forward from there. And that sucks. The only thing I like about this is, like, what it sets up of people getting elevated off of the turn of people being moved out of one promotion or one faction to the next. But as far as, like, doing this match and then, like, what we got as the resolution, that when they do these, those all suck just fundamentally. There's no way to get out of that.
This was wholly unsatisfying. Like, with the them two having those two matches, right? And then now I see this and I'm like, oh, like, after, like, I was like, you know, like, you grow to kind of like NASA Boy, you see Tam's like a killer and shit, and then it's like, oh, y'all are evil on the other side of this. And I don't think the intention is for them to be evil.
No, I mean, but not evil, but bad baby faces or shitty baby faces.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like, I just come back to what the fuck was the point of those two matches then? And it is like, oh, y'all, this is y'all way to declare love for each other. I'm like, I'm straight. Cosmic Devils, fuck y'all. Julia, run them over. Like,
yeah.
That's where I'm at.
So, what was I gonna say? What was I gonna say? I can't remember. But
not honorable.
Oh yeah. That's what I was gonna say. So, from the perspective of, and we were talking about this in messaging or whatever else, as far as you saying, like, you know, what you just said about, they're shitty baby faces more or less for doing this. Like, turnabout's fair play, and then I was mentioning, like, beginning of the year, NASA or Julia being an asshole steals Mai Sakurai, and then your point was, well, she's a geek. And I was like, well, think about what that means. Like, you set this whole thing up. Like, the whole part of them doing that match in that way, fuck that. Whatever. But as far as the story of people, Tam and Julia hate each other so much they're poaching other faction members. Donna, like, this whole Julia Tam thing started off the part where Julia brings in like the top killers outside of Stardom, or some of them, and brings them into the promotion. Tam is a number 2 in her faction. I'm in faction when I said Julia and Shuri and Micah came together. They were a faction. So Tam starts as number 2 in her own faction. She then leaves her own faction, starts up with a bunch of geeks. And they're going back and forth. And this is literally like the Harlem Globetrotters versus the Washington Generals, except like the Washington Generals have like one all-star on their team. Or I got a better example for you. It is like the 2018 Warriors versus the 2018 Cavs. That's what it's like, right? Not to say that Tam is LeBron James Pro Wrestling, not doing that at all. But like, that is the situation. And then while that is the status quo, Julia then brings in Tekla and Mirai and also says, I also want to poach Mai from Cosmic Angels. Like, wait a second, so you have everything and you're just fucking with me because you're that much of an asshole? Okay. So then, like, flash forward to months past, Mirai and Shuri both leave on their own to start God's Eye. Donna Del Monte's closer to down to Earth, or closer to Earth from everybody else, but they're still light years beyond not light years, but they're still far ahead of Cosmic Angels, top to bottom. So then Natsupoi decides, I'm out of here. I'm going over here. Like, it is poetic in that way, and also like, Julia does deserve this because, like, she had everything and still decided I want to fuck with Tam even more by taking her second biggest geek out of her geek faction. Like, so for me, that all works for me, except for the part where it's like, you did the whole wrestle for for over 15 minutes and then do the the face turn at the end that make both baby faces that are in this thing look like dicks, even though, like, it's very similar to the Adam Cole, Adam Page thing where it's like, you whooped me with a belt, and now I'm going to whoop you with a belt, but people don't remember that you whooped me with a belt originally, so now, like, people think that I'm the dick. Where it's like, nah, turnabout's fair play. You started this shit, you played in that dirt, and now you in the mud. It isn't what it is. But I think it's interesting from the perspective of, that's cool what they're doing and what they'll end up being as far as the babyface faction, but Donna Del Mondo, they have no Shuri, no Natsupoi, no Mirai, no belts. Donna Del Mondo, like, loses on pay-per-view with regularity now. And, like, I think it's interesting to actually see Julia will have something to actually have some adversity. She's never really had that in Stardom. Like, she lost her hair and then, like, she was a fucking tag champion a month later. So, in the main event. So, I think that this is setting up for her a great chance to redeem herself or show the kind of leader she actually is. And she already kind of started showing that by, like, the way she cares about Mai. I think that this sets up for her to be, like, have a huge run in the Grand Prix, even though I think she already is probably going to win anyway. I think this actually gives her, like, reason to get behind her, besides, like, she's always had everything now. So it's like, she has to overcome stuff. I think this is cool for her.
The only people that have lost more talent than Donna Del Mondo is New Japan Pro Wrestling when AEW started.
That's fucking hilarious. That's a good line.
Like,
I mean, they still have. I mean, they were 7 deep at one point, right? No, 8 deep. They were 8 deep at one point. Now they're at 5.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, they're at 5 now. They're at 8, now they're at 5.
Yeah. Go Julia. Go Julia.
Yeah. So semi-main there was nothing else after that. Yeah. So, some main event, white belt, Saya Kamatani versus Starlight Kid. A lot of people like this match a lot more than I do. I gave this 4 1/4. But if you do not care about the things that annoyed me in this match, I can see why people loved this match.
I see great ratings on this. Last night show was like 8.96 or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think this is one of the best matches in Star. I don't think this is like one of the tip top, like one of the very best matches in Stardom this year. But I think it's like 4.5 type of thing. But it comes down to taste.
I think Saya Kamatani is on a super roll, hot streak.
She is.
This match actually reminded me.
Of it. I actually like the Mariah match more than this, though.
Yeah, this match actually reminded me. Like, I have a personal story to share, like, kind of about this match when I was watching it. So when I was watching it, I was seeing Starlight Kid kind of try to impose her will on the bigger, kind of more like maybe aloof, like opponent or whatever in Saya Kamatani. And like the thing was, like, she kept like, trying, but then what happened was like Saya Kamatani would like meet her like on the level she wanted to get to. So that kind of reminded me, like, back when I was a kid, like when I used to do karate or whatever, and like my mom, like, and I was like, kind of like a tall, lanky kid or whatever. And this is like maybe when I'm like 8, 9 years old or whatever. And I remember there was a tournament I was in one time. And I was kind of matched with this kid who was a little bit smaller than me, but like, just kind of being aggressive and like fidgety around, in between, the competitions and stuff like that. And my mom always wanted me to outwardly kind of show like the toughness or whatever, and I didn't like, I was just like, whatever, like I'll compete whenever I compete. Like that's how I was thinking. And then like the kid, like, maybe he thought that I was a pushover or whatever. We ended up, it was a sparring, joint. So you get the 3 points. It was kind of like Karate Kid or whatever, but you got the headgear, you got the joint on. And then like, once he found out that like his, like demeanor and like, his aggressiveness didn't bother me or something, like he was getting pissed and like ripping his gi off. So he was just in his t-shirt, but I ended up winning. And I was just
basically, I did basically as like a high school football player that's really good in Miami. Like the trash talking didn't work or whatever else, or the mind games didn't work, and then he has to like just play.
Right. And then like, when it came to it, like, and I think when in this match, they had to kind of just play, and then like Sai just overwhelmed her. Like that's what I was getting out of this.
I mean, that is a bit of story. She's not on her level right now, but that's the story they're going for. That's the story they told, and I thought they told it very much or a lot better after like the first 6 minutes of the match. I just felt like, like I remember you saying like you saw some relation or connection of like Saya Kamatani and Risa Hoshiki, and I've never before thought of those two other than like they're both kind of tall for Joshi until this match. And like the connection was, oh, I'm gonna get my leg worked over in like forever in this excruciating way to where like now I have to sell this thing, and then like from there for the rest of the duration of this match I'm going to pick and choose when and when I don't sell. And like for someone, and it's going to annoy the hell out of James Boyd, and probably only James Boyd. And that's what this match was. And I was like, why? Why hit her on the knee with a fucking chair when you know her finish is a Phoenix Splash? You know you want her to win with a Phoenix Splash. And not only do you want her to win with a Phoenix Splash, you want her to sell her fucking knee when she lands a Phoenix Splash. Whatever. Kid did a ton of work in the first like 6-7 minutes of this match on her knee. Like I said, on the horizontal ramp, put the chair across her knee, chair shot on the knee. So to set up her new Starlight Kid's new submission move, she calls a dark tiger leg destroyer. It's a stretch muffler with a leg choke. So Kid tries to get it one time, doesn't get it. Kamatani fights back. tries to fight for it again, or Kid tries to get it again at some point, doesn't get it, finally gets it. It's a huge near fall. Eventually, Kamitani gets the ropes. And then Kamitani, like, throughout this match at different points, either, I think at times, like, she's selling her knee well, and other times it's like, what? But either way, I think personally, like, this isn't the match I wanted to see out of these two. And I quite frankly think if they had like 9 other shots at it, I feel like they have a better match like 8 other times. And this is saying this for a match that a lot of people think are like 4.5. That's how talented they are. Or that's how talented Starlight Kid is, and that's like what Kamitani can do in a big match setting at this point. Her 3rd anniversary of wrestling is in August. She's better than any woman in America right now. Easily.
Like, she's like, well, I think she's got Wrestler of the Year buzz in Stardom.
She'd be number 2 for me.
Like, her matches are like undefeated. Like, and it feels like it's been that way for like over 7 months.
Her worst match would be her worst match or title match this year would be the Unagi match that started out horribly and she still ended up at like 3 3/4.
Yeah.
That's her worst match.
Yeah, like she's a problem. Like,
yeah,
so
like she's at this point
arrived.
She's just a consistent like 4.25 to 4.5. I think her best match is still that Tam match, but that's like that might be 3 3/4. It's 3.5 plus easily. But either way, like that's where she is now. In singles matches. So after she gets the win, and this was an important thread or whatever else is after Kamitani puts her away with the Phoenix Splash that she no-sold her panties. Whatever. Kid is inconsolable. She's crying.
Oh my god! It was like she was gonna die.
Yeah. She's like, I wrestled a perfect match. I bested her. I basically, chopped half the tree, kept the bigger wrestler off a vertical base, and then she just no-sold my shit and beat me anyway. I'm fucking frustrated. Now, obviously, I'm throwing my editorial shit. She's like, I did everything perfect, I still lost. I'm just not good enough. I'm frustrated, and I've done everything. I've made character changes, blah, blah, blah. She says parts of this, like, in her post-match thing, where, like, she's crying because she's, like, upset that she felt like this was her time to break through. This was her 3rd time to, you think of the run she's had, like, came in the year with the high-speed belt, won the tag belts, won the trios belt. She's still the trios champion. Like, she's always had a belt on her all throughout the year, except for, like, maybe a week all throughout the year. And, like, you see, like, eventually, like, well, this whole thing was, like, in the crying, it was basically, like, letting you know, like, her next defense, she's probably winning. Who knows when it is, but, like, she's next up to get the belt. Like, this is part of the explaining, like, how desperation of the chase and what this is taking her to get to the white belt. I think that's cool. I would have, the part is like, at this point, is like, well, you're like the biggest terrorist in the promotion, though. Like, I'm supposed to feel sorry for you when you're fucking with people constantly. All right, whatever. But yeah, like, I don't, they're in the same, block. They're both in the blue block. So they're going to get this match in, I'm assuming there's going to be a rematch at some point, but like, if you see Starlight Kid versus Kamitani for the white belt in a big match scenario in the next, or not like in a, year-end show like December, or if they do some big fall show, whatever else, if she's in there, like, she's even more fit than she was here to win this. Like, there's not much of a story left to be told, and like, quite frankly, at this point with Kamitani, they holding this belt on her because like, it's a holding pattern until she finally gets to the red belt, because she's red belt material at this point, the way she's wrestling.
Yeah.
So, I think, quite frankly, like, Stardom has their next 4 champions, like, already. In some form or fashion. Like Julia, Tam, Utami for a second run, and Kamitani as probably their next 4 red belt champions. So, they got in stone in similar fashion, like how we used to talk about, like, those AEW world champions in the future. And then the main event. Whoa.
Before you did that, Nanai Takahashi emerges from the cracks.
Even before that. So she asked for next offender, or next challenger. Second Saki comes out from Colors, or Cosmic Colors, and she says she wants a title shot. She ends up getting it for the July 24 pay-per-view. And then after that, now keep in mind, like, I've seen some Nanae Takahashi in All Japan Women's, but I don't remember her music. So I hear the music, I was like, this sounds familiar. This sounds like some AJW shit, but I can't remember what it is. And then Nanae comes, I was like, oh, okay.
Bro, I was like, what the fuck is Nanae Takahashi doing here when she walked out?
So, like, what is so-and-so doing in the Impact Zone? So, she comes out and she says, like, remember how, you know, you had your interaction with Kairi in Osaka a few weeks ago, and she talked about a tag match. Well, I'm her tag partner, you know, and like, it's funny to look at the translations of like Nanae's like promo, because like when her like greetings, because her greetings like, welcome, like, hello everyone, I am Joshi Pro Wrestler and treasure to pro wrestling. Nanae Takahashi. It's something along those lines. It's fucking hilarious. She goes through her spiel saying what I just said about like, I'm Kairi's tag partner and you need to find your tag partner or whatever else. So I'm like, you know, they show pictures of Nanae and Utami early in the year, like on her Twitter, of like them hanging out. So it's like, I would like to see a match between those two. So I'm thinking, okay, it's gonna be Utami versus, you know, Seven Kairi, right? The tag team. Nope. Lady C, she felt her inner unagi and she hopped in the ring and said, I want to be in this match. So I don't know what was said, but like Lady C
said, I am the bully.
Like, yeah, it was something along the lines like, you're very tall, don't get close to me. So Lady C kept getting closer. I think Lady C was like, I'm the tallest woman in Joshi. And like Lady C then gave her one of them big over the top Baba chops. And then like Nanae no-sold that shit and shoved her. Like, you fucking geek. What are you doing? So they're gonna have that match, and like that match is some interesting to see what happens. I mean, I know it's gonna happen. Like, Lady C's gonna die, but aside from that, as far as like seeing Kairi with Kamitani, seeing like Nanae in there with like Kamitani, and like what happens going forward with this, as far as like, is this just like, because now at this point, this will be the third tag match with Kairi, and it seems like the first match was her tag with Mayu, then it was tagging with Tam, now it's tagging with Kairi. Like, is this a thing where like she just does like, you know, almost like one big tag match and one like singles match at some point, or eventually when there's like a double weekend shows or whatever else, and then like when do we get to the, you know, the Kairi and Io tag match? When is that? Like, sooner or later, when are we going to get to that? Will that be the fall or will that be Christmas time? Who knows?
Zach said Nanae and Kairi better come out on the bike again.
Okay, so you're finna make me go through like my meme bank that's like however long.
I saw someone send that out. I saw someone send that video out, and I saw it. I was like, did James make that? Like, no. And it was like with the rolling. Right. No, I found that years ago, and then like okay. I just kept it saved. So that's what I'm looking for. Like, is of Kairi on her motorcycle coming to the Korakuen Hall with Nanae, and like someone like over their music, their team music put in like the Undertaker, American Badass version Limp Bizkit rolling. And it was fucking hilarious. Like, I gotta try and find that again, but like, I hope that's what we get. Otherwise, what's the point? But yeah, like that should be fun. And then we end up getting to the main event, Shuri versus Momo. This match isn't as good as their final of the Grand Prix last year, but I thought this match was still great, and like I enjoyed this match like every bit as much as I enjoyed the semi-main event. I saw a lot of people were upset with this, but then I also looked at like some of their comments, and it was like, oh, it's the Momo Jungle Kiona, my favorite thing. So like, I don't care about what those people that gave this thing a 5 on Cage Match thought. So whatever. I think this is their second best match together with each other. I think a lot of people, I think there is some weird things about it. Same way I have same issues with the selling thing with Kamitani in the semifinal. Like, the whole thing is, you know, Momo has taken out 2 people with this wrench so far this year on accident. Both times were on accident, but she, you know, the 2 times she's actually used it, she has legitimately injured people. Like, when she loaded the wrench into the side of her kick pad, and then she punt kicked
Azumi, and she punt kicked Azumi so hard that like they thought her nose was broken, but she was only missing like a week of wrestling. And then she used the wrench she was supposed to cover it, and she was supposed to like clock with her fist covering the wrench. She was supposed to clock Natsupoi. She ended up like grabbing it or getting it from Roaka so late that she just swung it without having regard for covering it. Ended up busting open Natsupoi in the back of her head like a month ago, or yeah, like close to a month ago, a few weeks ago. And she was busted open. So like they built this wrench thing where like in the press conference they beat her up and threatened that like I might use this wrench. So she loads up the gimmick inside of her kick pad and then punt kicks Shuri and then goes for the pin. There's no like delay between it. She punt kicks her with a loaded boot. And then Shuri just fucking kicks because you need a gun to be Shuri.
Bro, when she gave her the 3 fucking Black Pete suplexes and like looked in the camera and it was like, man, fuck her. 3 suplexes, fuck her. Like that's what was all over her face, bro. Right. When Momo came out, I was like, bro, Momo looks like her life is falling apart. Like in the entrance, like we're like, she is a high school kid that now smokes that is just like going through very tough times and is constantly in the guidance counselor's office. Like, I don't know, like if she should get an award for how much she looks like she's just downtrodden. Like, just life is just gone wrong for her.
She looks miserable. It looks like this part of this like on purpose. It's intentional. Like she looks that miserable. So the thing for me, right? Think about it is like, all right, she survived the punt kick with the loaded boot. Okay, Shuri's Superwoman, fine, whatever. She survives the three consecutive Peach Sunrise suplexes. Okay, fine, she's Superwoman. She's whatever else. Momo then goes up to give her the Peach Bomb, where like you lift her up from the pump handle position and flip her forward like a or whatever else.
JML driver.
Okay, I didn't know it was called JML driver. So. Shuri desperately escapes out of there because that one's the one that's gonna put her away. Nothing was gonna put her the fuck away. Get the fuck out my face. I ain't buying that bullshit. Look, Shuri should just got up after that third Peach Sunrise and been like, you can't beat me. Kick her in the face, give her Emerald Flosion and beat her. Ain't no need to get her up for just like, oh, if she kicked her in the face with a fucking wrench to the face and she kicked out, she beat the 3 suplexes. If she had hit this one move, she would have got it. So therefore, next time they have a match, if she's just one move, she's gonna win. No, the fuck it's not gonna happen. Look,
maybe
Momo's never going to beat Shuri for the red belt. It's not happening.
Maybe Momo should go back to holding the coats, in Queen's Quest,
I think this was her 5th or her 6th challenge for the red belt. I remember going through like Stardom history and like I was looking at people was like, if you get past 5 without ever winning a red or white belt or whatever else, you're never getting it. And I think, because like whichever one it was, like I think this is her 5th one. Like so this is the one where it's like, it's probably never happening unless something drastically changes. Like I know she's 22. I know she's 22 and she's still young and has time on her side. And she's still like, in my opinion, I think she's still the top 3 worker in the company. But
Zach said Momo is in the Goto zone.
Yeah. That's where I'm getting at. I think they just closed the door on her forever. I have the sneaking suspicion they just closed the door on her forever with this one.
Like, I don't know. Physically, it feels like she let herself go a little bit too. Like,
I didn't want to get into that because I think her wrestling is still at the level. I don't. But whatever. I don't feel comfortable talking about that. But whatever. But yeah, she Should we do a eulogy on the part where she can't be the champion? Because it feels like it's done. It feels like she has been officially Goto'd. Yeah. Because, like, you see, and then you can also feel like the way people were rating this thing is like, oh, like, and then you see the way they're commenting, I was like, oh, this isn't about what you thought of how good the match was or was. It is about the part where you're like, your favorite has had the door. Yeah, it's been the window's been closed on her at 22, and she has like probably another decade of wrestling left. And you just know it's over. Like she's been Jungle Keona'd.
Man, sad.
Yeah,
like, bro, when I saw her coming out to the ring, I was like, bro, she looks depressed.
Like JML, not JMO Driver, but JML was saying this, that he thought that Momo was going to win, and I was like, I never saw it in that way to where like the booking was committed to her in that way. Like as a tag team with Starlight Kid, sure, but like the thing is, the person they're pushing in that duo is Starlight Kid. And it's easy to be confused to thinking that it's both of them is like, nah. Cause like if it were, they would have came up with something, a big singles match for her to win in that way. And like, I appreciate the part where she got the match with Azuki in March and beat her, but Azuki's not big enough to say, I have now stated my claim that I'm going to now be a future red or white belt champion. Like Natsupoi beating Tam is, in that singles match after getting her ass whooped in the cage match is far more declarative of that kind of statement that she could be a white belt champion than beating Hazuki.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about Momo at this point.
It sucks because I really enjoy watching Momo every single weekend. So, or, you know,
sorry, Jeremy.
Weekend. But I think, don't do this. Sorry, Jeremy. All right, we ended it just on that. There's nothing else to talk about. Like,
we're gonna have to punt Tokyo Joshi till next week.
Yeah, we'll talk about it next week. I haven't even watched that show, so yeah. But yeah, as I mentioned before, Stardom has 3 brands. New Blood one, or the New Blood thing was the second one. The third one they're doing is called Stardom in Showcase. It's the third brand. That will be the day before the next pay-per-view in Stardom, and it's basically just like gimmick matches or whatever else on the card. So there's 4 matches announced right now. On the 23rd, there is a Shuri and Mirai versus Risa Sarah, not Risa Sarah, but 2 people in prominence that's not Risa Sarah or Suzuki. I think it's Akane Fujita and they're heavy. I can't remember her name. But it's an I Quit match, and that was set up during New Blood 3 on Friday. And then also set up on New Blood 3 is a hardcore match with Julia and Mai versus Risa Sarah and Suzu. So like, R.I.P. Mai, you're gonna die. There's also a 4-way match with Tam, Kaguma, Azumi. I can't remember who the 4th person is, but it is a 4-way Falls Count Anywhere match, so that'll be shenanigans because Kaguma in it. Who knows what the fuck will happen? And I think the main event is Kamatani and Starlight Kid versus the Grim Reaper in a coffin match. A coffin match. A coffin match.
Dan coffin match.
So, like, that's the kind of shenanigans they're going to have on this Stardom and Showcase match. Like, I think this is their way to, like, be able to do, like, the kind of things they want, that Prominence wants to do, and Julia wants to do without having to beat Stardom, because they don't want that shit to, like, fuck up them trying to draw if they do get, you know, do kind of ridiculous stuff that accidentally gets blood, and they don't, and there's a no blood rule in Stardom. So, or from Bushi Road, or no credence. There is no blood is allowed on purpose. So, in case something happens, like, that was not Stardom, that was Stardom in Showcase. So, I think that's how they're trying to get away with that. But yeah, that is pretty much the Stardom talk for now. So we'll talk about Tokyo Pro next week.
Yeah, Retrogram says you can have people that can't win the big belt that are excellent, like Ishii or Momo. If every top champion is GOAT tier, when you get the motherfucking evil type dudes winning the big one, that's when we got problems.
And that's what I keep trying to say to people when they do my favorite thing and well-booked promotions. Like, if you make it to where anyone can win the title, then what does it actually mean? Right? Like, and then, like, in certain promotions, the secondary and tertiary belts have to matter. And I think that's the reason why, like, Stardom, I think is cool, even though it has so many belts, is like, all these belts serve a purpose, and have their all distinct divisions, and like, people have their own goals. Like, that future belt, like, imagine Stardom without a future belt. Like, what the fuck would Hannon be doing? Like, what would some of these women be gearing up to? Like, imagine no futures belt and no new blood. Oh, there's out here just to fucking be on the pre-show and battle royals or gauntlets or whatever else, and then get discarded and get told to get the fuck on. How do you get better that way? Like the high speed thing, like, so yeah, like, once you have, like, you know, belts and divisions and like somebody winning something at the top of the card, like, that means something, that, like, to win the red belt or to win the white belt, as opposed to like, oh, everybody all got this. Like, nah, you get this shit, you're probably champ for like 9 months.
A couple more comments. Retrogram said TJPW Summer Sun Princess, TJPW Grand Princess, Stardom Flash and Champions, and Stardom World Climax Day 2 are all top 10 shows of the year at least. James said, or Sam says, I remember you telling me about all the Momo fans. James, there's going to be some sad folk. He said, when people like Liv Morgan win your belt, for example, to your previous point, he then asked, who is the Liv Morgan equivalent in each wrestling promotion? The floor is yours, Rich.
Fuck.
Well, in Stardom, it's Waka Tsukiyama. For sure.
Wait.
For sure.
Wait. Okay. You think Liv is the worst?
She's not good.
That's not what I asked.
There's a lot of sorry.
Like, is she worse than Dana Brooke, for example?
No, she's not worse than Dana Brooke.
Well, then how could she be Waka then? Because Waka is the worst in Stardom.
I don't know if it's necessarily like. I don't know.
Are you going by skill, or are you going by like energy of patheticness?
I guess the energy of patheticness
or
for me,
geekdom,
and like
word, geekdom.
Geekdom, and like, you know, a skill at times. I feel like the skill has to be enough. Like, there has to be an argument there. Man, I guess in AEW, and I'll look at the women's division. I'm gonna have to pull that up, Sam, if you'll bear with me.
Okay, so who would be the worst women's wrestler in AEW? Like, I think the bottom of the barrel people would kind of be like, I think I'm going to have to start with Abaddon.
Yeah, like Abaddon.
And then after that, I don't know where I'd go.
Okay.
But the thing is, given how bad that women's division is in the main roster, like, is Liv actually like one in the bottom tier of women's wrestlers in WWE at this point? Or is she like kind of in the middle?
She's probably like migrated her way to the middle just by like, you know, people like Sasha and Naomi no longer being there. So like you by default move up. Julia Hart is pretty rotten. Julia Hart is Liv Morgan in WWE and AEW.
Okay.
Like people just are dying for her to be pushed, like for just no real reason at all, except maybe one. Yeah, that's who it is. Blonde, all lines up.
Okay.
I don't know what other companies.
Is Mai Sakurai too far for Liv Morgan in Stardom, or is she not pathetic enough?
I don't think she's pathetic enough.
Okay.
She at least was
Lady
able
C?
to make her own decisions. Nah, Lady C is charming and funny.
She is funny. That's true. C.
Yo.
So. It's gonna be a minute. We're gonna talk our heads off trying to work around this, but we'll come up with some answers for this, and we'll talk about it in the Discord.
Yeah, C got
that's true.
She might have to.
That's true. Hey, I don't know if you saw this, but like Akira Taue like gave her a jacket or something. I think.
See, they see it. They see it in Lady C.
That's just because she's doing all the fucking Baba moves that she was at. They put her in the in that freaking Joshi Baba versus Jumbo Tsuruta match with her and Himeka at Fortune Dream this year. That's all we can do. That's pandering. That's bullshit. Oh man! All right,
fucks with Lady C.
Yeah, shout out to Lady C. I wish she. Oh, next year, her and Kogo need to be in the Grand Prix. I don't care if they got to expand that shit even further. Like they got to make it. they're going to be too good by next year not to get in. But anyway, that's in the show. Thank y'all for listening.
Marathon.
Yeah. Be sure to rate us on whatever app you're using to listen to this with. If you are watching from the stream, go to the links below, the Cash App, the PayPal, and drop us off a donation. If you listen from the podcast, go to our Word Circle and drop us off with a donation from there. And listen to the other shows on the network. Besides One Nation Radio, you have Keepin It Strong Style, the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show, Grown Men Watch This Shit, The Grave Consequences, 8-Bit Suplex, All Things Elite, Great Match Generator, Get in the Ring, Meet the Press Slam, and AEW Match Guide. Thanks for listening, y'all. Later.
Peace.